Hello. How are you?
What's up?
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead, Wags. Do the thing.
Hey, everyone. Wags here from Eagle Dynamics.
Awesome.
Yay.
Welcome. Welcome to the show. It is Monday. The Mover and Gonky and Wombat and Wag show has begun. It is the 7th of August, the year of our Lord 2023. Our views are our own, do not constitute or imply DoD endorsement.
And Eagle Dynamics.
It's an Eagle Dynamics, of course. But we're going to
That'll
talk
roll a lot.
I'll endorse it
Yeah.
all. I don't care. I have nothing to hide.
We'll talk about some Eagle Dynamics stuff. It's going to be a great episode. We've got a lot to cover. First, I want to say from a fan, I got an email today. Happy birthday, Timmy, if he's watching. Any
Happy
Timmy,
birthday, Tim.
specifically this Timmy. His dad messaged me and said that he's from an agency and his son likes the channel and quotes us sometimes. So I said, you probably need to find better stuff to watch, but happy birthday anyway. But thank you for that. So anyway, Wags is joining us. Those of you who don't know, he's from Eagle Dynamics because he says Wags here from Eagle Dynamics. And
I do.
Wags, so you've been with Eagle Dynamics for how long? Like, how long have you been doing this
Wow.
simulator
So,
world?
in one form or another since 2000. So, 23 years.
23 years.
Yeah.
So it's existed for 23 years, or
Since 1994, 95 is when it was first founded.
There was internet back then, Gonky.
Barely.
You're
It's the same
currently
Gon-
using
it's
it.
the Same, yeah, it's the same internet that Gonky currently has.
AOL?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think in terms of
They've upgraded quite
Like
a
some
bit in that
companies.
time.
probably the longest lived. So, it must be doing something right.
Yeah. Now you told me you've worked for previously though, right? Did you work on Jane's stuff prior to that, or?
I did. So I joined the Janes team in 1998 and worked
Yeah.
on F-18.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to move the studio onto NASCAR. And
Awesome.
well, not a big NASCAR fan, but each their own. And then
awkward.
eventually they decided to move all the NASCAR stuff down to Tiburon, which was a different studio back then. And they closed
Yeah.
the studio up in Baltimore. So that's when I went over to SSI, who was the publisher for the Eagle Dynamics products at that time.
Wow. Yeah. So that was Lock On, Lomac, right? Is that back in those days?
Yeah, actually, way back then when I first came on board, it was Flanker 2.0.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. So my first big project I did for them was, in fact, Lock On.
That's the one I played. I played all the
Was it?
Jane's stuff.
Okay.
Jane's was my jam.
Yep,
The
ditto.
ATF Gold, Longbow,
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
A lot of
And
good
then,
stuff.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
Lomac, I played when I was an
Mhm.
A10 student hire. I was trying to do pops in the
Oh, okay.
A10
Yeah.
sim on my laptop. It didn't work very well.
Okay.
It's very hard to do a pop on a laptop, just in
Yeah.
case anybody's wondering about that. But thanks, Wags. Thanks for joining us. It's less. We're gonna pick your brain for a lot of this stuff, but
Okay.
we're gonna keep it as the show goes on as a co-host because we've
Mhm.
also got joining us Mr. T.R. Matson, author, Wombat.
Hello.
Hello, Wombat. Okay. Well,
I'm
Not very
talking
Wombat of you.
about
great addition.
aliens
Thank you.
anymore. Ever again.
Yeah, he's mad about the
Anywhere.
aliens.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
sent
like that.
Nate sent me this.
I love
Oh,
that.
Wags, when are we getting the E2 flyable in DCS? Wombat wants to know.
That's going to be a long time.
Yeah,
That's going to be a long
it
time.
doesn't surprise me.
I've
It's
got
barely
a SME.
flyable in real life. So it's yikes.
Or the COD. Wombat is a Mustang driver, in case anybody didn't know. Author of Treason Flight and Vengeance Flight.
I used to have a
and-
Mustang.
See,
Don't
was it just
help.
like
Don't-
Wombats?
Please don't help. Please.
I've rented one.
Ooh.
A long time ago.
Oh man.
Oh, just kidding.
It's a sore subject. We don't talk about these. And
Mm-hmm.
Gonky, you're an author too now.
Yes.
I wrote,
Yes.
as Wombat said, I wrote books about that Marines would be able to read. So, 2 children's
lunch?
coloring books.
And
So,
then whatever's left after lunch, they can color.
By the
in.
way, my son tonight asked me specifically to ask you when his books are showing up. I was like, I don't know. I was like,
Ask
if it's
Amazon.
coming as fast as his internet, it's probably going to be here a
So to
while.
speak.
So, yes.
Yeah,
oh,
so to
jeez.
speak. All right. Moving on. Our first topic for this evening. Douglas, I think you have the XQ-58 Valkyrie, if I spelled that right. Artificial intelligence flight.
Yeah, I've been
Take it
trying to
away.
make.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I missed my cue. I've been trying to make sense of this. In addition to the fact that they've reused the name Valkyrie, which I thought was attached to the XP50, but anyway,
70.
70 XP70. Yeah, thanks, Gonky. I should.
I'm such a nerd.
I know. I'm usually a better nerd than that. So this is apparently part of what they're calling the CCA program, which is, I'm seeing it as what we've been calling loyal wingmen. Does that sound right, Mover?
Yeah.
They're trying to develop drones that can fly autonomously under the supervision of crewed aircraft. And this rather vague article seems to be referencing a big step in the development of the AI and apparently letting it fly and verifying safety in interaction with other aircraft.
Yeah, apparently it was making like real decisions, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it flew. It flew out over the Gulf. They went
Yeah.
to the Whiskies with a Strike Eagle.
It did a mission,
And-
right? By itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out of Eglin?
they did. Yeah, out of Eglin. They launched it from a trailer and then launched it. Wags, can you explain? I know you've done some AI stuff. What do you know about how these machine learning things happen?
Well, most of it, from my limited understanding, is taking case scenarios one after the other, after the other, after the other, and basically looking at what works and what doesn't work, and basically positive reinforcement on what does work, and essentially building upon that. My
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah. We did a whole thing back a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember Gonky, where I had the fight for honor, and then
Yeah.
the winner got to fight the AI.
Right.
Yep.
And that whole thing, they were doing, they actually fought an F-16 guy and
Yep.
then kicked his butt because he wasn't expecting all the stuff that it would do, because it doesn't think in,
Right.
fighter pilot think. It just thinks of, here's my objective. Here's how I get to the objective. I don't care about self-preservation. I don't care about anything. I just I'll shoot you in the face if I can.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. That's essentially what they did. And
So
Wags
I also flew the Hornet, so I don't know how that's
just
much
shoot you in the
different.
face.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that
Also,
not-
it seems like the guy really didn't have a whole lot of experience flying sims to begin with either.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. That
No
Wags,
more
that
than-
video
Didn't
got
have the SA either.
yeah, that video got Mover some attention.
Oh yeah, I saw the account on that
As-
one.
as usual,
Yeah.
someone was mad at me.
Oh, yeah.
But Wags, you've kind of experienced this with DCS in the
Yep.
because it's gone from very basic AI to more advanced AI. I know you guys have done some updates more recently where it's actually more advanced. I mean, how have you seen
Yeah.
the
So we're-
evolution of that?
So machine learning is something we're starting to look into, but it's not in there right now. More we have right now, which we first updated a lot of the BVR and then later BFM, was more based on looking at kind of more variables about the situation and be able to adapt to it. Whereas
Okay.
before it was incredibly basic. Now it will, more look at your own ship, look at the hostile, look at your airspeed. Do I go one circle? Do I do two circle? Do I take it over the top? What's going to be my best game plan for the aircraft I'm in versus what I'm fighting? So that's more what it's doing now. Whereas before it would take a two circle pretty much almost every single time. And it was super predictable.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not
Must be the
unrealistic.
Air Force.
Mhm.
Must be an Air Force guy you modeled this thing at.
Yeah. Wombat, you and I were talking a little bit before with the AI and some of the considerations. Do you think there's some issues with having an autonomous wingman out there doing its own thing?
Well, you're right. We spoke about this a little bit, and I thought about it this afternoon. And my concern, and I think this has happened in the battle space over, decades, generations, everything. If you think about it, how warfighting was even before there were aircraft, right? It was very personal. It was one-on-one. It was hand-to-hand combat, and then we got weapons, and then we got tanks, and then we got aircraft, and it's just getting further and further and further away from the fight to where, I'm not saying that in a Hornet or Viper or whatever that you're not connected to the people on the ground, but you're certainly not as connected to the people on the ground as the people on the ground. So now take this one more layer and we even did this with, when we went with drones, right? So now you have guys flying these things in Vegas that aren't even, at least when we deployed, you're in a deployment mentality, right? Like you left your family or your friends or your dog or whatever it is, and you went and you were kind of locked into this mental world for as long as it was, for Gonky and I, 6 to 8 months, for Mover, 6 to 8 minutes, whatever, Air Force, Vice, Navy, but
3 to 4 business days, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yes,
whatever.
sir.
Monday through Friday, 10 to 2, I get it. But the point being is you were still engaged in that 100%, right? And then we went to drones where you have people that literally would wake up and have breakfast with their children and then drive into work and create pink mist somewhere on the other side of the world and come home and buy some groceries and go sleep in bed with their wife or husband or whatever. And that there were issues. I mean, that was a normal, that's a thing in the Air Force where it's just a mind game. And now we're taking it one step further from that to where, there's not even, I'm not Gonky. Like I embrace technology, right? But you start doing this where it's not a human. I mean, I think, okay, fair question that none of us have talked about before. Have any of you guys ever been in an aircraft at a moment? It doesn't have to be necessarily combat or something where you got the hair on the back of your neck that stood up and you went, hold on, something's not right. I need to stop this right here. It doesn't have to be dropping bombs or shooting the gun or whatever, something. Maybe it's calling a troubleshooter. Maybe it's not taking that cat shot and spinning off or something. But we've all done that, right? Every pilot's done that. And now you're taking that out of it. So that's my concern is what happens when that's not there. And it's that moment where there's that one bit of information that in our human brain, while not nearly as fast as the AI, let's be honest. I mean, some of us are a lot slower, but it's that one just human interaction that makes you go, wait, then what happens? I'm not even talking about, everybody brings up the stealth movie and how it turns on its own and blah, blah, blah. And yes, that is a wonderful, glorified movie. And could that happen? Sure. But my concern more so is that humanistic interaction of when does this just become, machines lobbing missiles at machines and then all of a sudden there's nothing.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Then
it's just attrition. Yeah. It's
correct.
assembly and attrition.
Now, if you're going to let me have, not me, obviously, but let me have 10 loyal wingmen that are going to go soak up missiles before I stick my nose in the fight, I am all for these, 1000%. You eat up and be the bullet sponge, and then I'll roll in behind and get all the glory. No problem. But that's the thing that kind of concerns me, I guess, on where this goes.
But Wags, you've had, so we were talking about the AI just now, but on the flip side, the friendly AI is just as important within the simulation. So have you found advances where it's smarter wingmen, or they just do whatever and die with honor? Have you seen the progression of having smart? Because I've seen it in games, just regular video games. You see it used to be they were of no help, and now all of a sudden you're kind of the wingman and they're pushing the story along. I mean, how has it evolved from your perspective from the blue side?
To be perfectly honest, not much on the DCS side. They're more of attritable assets, to be perfectly honest, many times. But it is certainly probably once we have more of the single ship AI really tight, that's when we kind of, freeze in stone. Then we kind of go on to how does it play with other AI. Particularly because, whether it's BFM or even maybe more so in BVR, it's going to get a lot more complicated. And another issue, there's a fair amount of resources out there talking about BFM, but talking about valid BVR tactics, I'm a little more concerned about. So that's actually one of the things on my agenda is to kind of, see what's out there at a releasable form. And, the other thing too is, always in the back of our minds is, making sure that a potential adversary out there is not using the product as an op port trainer against us.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's really important. And I understand that a lot of our customers out there want the most realistic possible thing out there. In the end, it's a game. And
Ooh, careful, Wags.
Ooh,
Careful.
ooh, Wags
Whoa.
is canceled.
I just watched
Views do not
everybody-
represent
I just
Evil
watched everybody
Dynamics
leave
or
the chat. Just
I'm
like
glad
that.
nobody can
And
see my face.
It wasn't even something I said about
We're all
VCS.
canceled.
Thank you, Wags.
Okay.
Thank you
So-
for that. But
okay, so here's my opinion on that. And I see this question all the time. Is it a sim or is it flight sim? It's a flight sim game.
Ooh,
That's what it is.
I like that.
you can buy it in Steam. In Steam, it actually calls it.
It is.
Like, yeah,
It's
I mean,
it's a type of game.
Is this
Yeah.
like a Mustang Shelby
what-
discussion again? I'm just curious.
no, you have a
Oh, okay.
Mustang. This is a game.
Ooh,
They're two
easy,
different things. Facts of
easy,
life.
easy.
so Wags, if
Let Wags finish. Wombat.
No, I was just going to say, because it is a game, there's a fine line there. We always have to be really careful that it's, not used in a way we don't want it to be used.
Yeah.
That's the end of my soapbox there.
Gonky, do you have something? I have a
I
question
guess
for you.
you bring up a valid point of like you don't want it to be too real for like BVR stuff, but
Yep.
and I'm a little ignorant on the AI stuff, but if you're
Breaking news.
if it really is artificial intelligence and it can
Mhm.
learn,
hmm
could it in theory in the game begin to see ways to like take advantage of
Yeah.
performance of the missile and the shot, and then on its own start making its own tactics?
Yeah,
that's
just-
a
so
great
just-
question.
You see what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
So
then
it's
you're
kind
like,
of
oh, wait a minute.
So the Israeli company that put together the AI that was featured in Movers video, it's kind of what they did. They just ran iterations over and over again, figure out what kind of stuck to the wall and what didn't. So if and when we do that type of AI development, and we were to run those simulations over and over and over again, yeah, there's no reason it wouldn't learn in the same way as they did. So
Right,
it's valid.
So in theory,
Very.
I mean, they could develop.
It could
their
come up on its own. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
But you guys
Yeah.
could limit that by just setting the parameters on the weapons and stuff. In theory,
Yeah. So, whether it's, the weapons or sensor suite,
Right.
what have you, those are essentially hard coded in there. So,
okay.
and again, just like the AI, there's a fine line in there that, do we really want to have, each, aircraft RCS, down to,
Right.
the nth degree or, the WES of this missile and this parameter to be 100% accurate? No, absolutely. We do not.
Right.
Because again,
Yeah.
we have to be very careful in the mindset of how it could be used by people we don't want it to be using in that way.
Well, even from a practical perspective, one of my questions would be, a lot of what we do is comm intensive. So,
Mhm.
like ACM, for example, that's the most comm intensive thing you can do. In fact, the
Mhm.
drill is just the comm beach ball, right? Engage, supporting, all that stuff, depending on what the flavor of what weapon school is saying at the time. It's a lot of comm. And I know guys are using the voice chat, voice attack, all that stuff. But for the people like me and Gonky who are just using the backspace, the keyboard every now and then to try to figure it out, there is a lot of complication because it's momentary, fleeting. You have to recognize and then tell them something, and they have to tell you something back.
Mhm.
I mean, so from a practical standpoint, it seems like that would be one of your bigger challenges is just figuring out the comm
Yeah.
and how to communicate from the player to the AI.
That's a 100% valid observation. And I don't know how you do that outside of obviously multiplayer with
But
an
you've
AI.
done it with Jester. You've done it
Okay.
with Jester, and some like what I'm saying. In some ways, like you've got that wheel and stuff. I mean, it seems like there are a couple workarounds.
Yeah, but the live back and forth with having to go through the interface, then you're talking more about voice recognition and
Yeah.
a very advanced AI, to understand, all the brevity of comm, say in a BFM engagement. That's a big ask.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
And all
not
the-
possible, but not there yet.
Well, and then you'd have the
Yeah,
various
that I worry about.
accents, language barriers, people who are trying to
Mm.
say what they think is right, and then it doesn't work. I mean, we do that in real life. I mean, you go fly.
Sure.
Sometimes you'll be like, "What did they say?
Mm.
Who's engaged? Me? Him? I'm defensive.
Well, and I
I'm dead."
mean, I remember the
Tumbleweed.
stories of when Gonky crossed over into the blue and just the difference of Navy to Air Force.
Yes.
I mean, and that's
Yes.
two
They're 180 out,
highly
literally.
qualified,
Yeah,
highly trained.
literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, so if you can't even get that on the same page, I mean, you start introducing this, and that's, I mean, start peeling that onion. That's a big ask, big time.
Yeah.
So,
Wags, I got to tell you, as much as we've talked about, and when Gonky and I have done these videos, it's never a hit against Eagle Dynamics or DCS.
yeah.
We think it's a great simulator. We've voiced things that we've noticed that are different from real life, but it's
Sure.
not. We know there's limitations.
Yep.
But I will say, given the framework of what you're limited to, you guys have done a great job.
I appreciate
I mean,
that. Thank you.
there's a lot. I mean, Gonky, you're the first one to go, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, Wags, you've built the closest thing to like a time machine for me.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't go back to my 20s and 30s when I was,
Right.
an active fighter pilot.
I hear you.
But I tell Mover all the time with the visuals, I'm like, wow, man, that looks just like, a join up looks just like a join up. So it's really cool, man.
Well,
to
part of
complete
it's-
it, Wags, you need to develop a simulation for an '89 Camaro IROC.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Because then Gonky can totally go back to his glory
If I could
days.
drive to the hangar, Wags, and my IROC with the T-tops out, get out.
And he could do that in real life. The problem is the car doesn't run. So
Yeah.
it's a hard time.
If you wanted realism, there should be at least 4 weather cancels per iteration of something. You got to have longer debriefs.
Maintenance.
There's got to be a lot more
maintenance.
going. Yeah, maintenance cancels. Yeah, you have to have a
well,
wingman
that's
that's just
awesome.
going off on his own, doing something that you're like, why
Wait,
is
hold
he out
on.
of the airspace?
Let's
Yeah.
not throw
So-
stones too close. All right.
So to be honest, though, it is partially selfish as well, because kind of like you guys, even when I was little, the only thing I wanted to do was be a fighter pilot. But then do a sports injury in high school, that was never going to happen. So ever since then, my goal has always been to try to get as close as I can to what it would have been like.
That's awesome.
And going down
run
the
it.
paths I was very fortunate to go down, I was able to have the capability to help build that system that allowed me to do that. And thankfully, a lot of other people have been wanting to do the same thing. So
Awesome.
it's been able to match up.
That's really
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, cool. Well, moving on from artificial intelligence to perhaps a reason why people would not want any intelligence in the cockpit. This is a little non sequitur, but I wanted to cover it because it's a current event and Gonky liked the story.
Oh, come on, dude. Here we go.
It's very Navy. Recently in the news, Lufthansa pilot, I'll take it, Doug, I got this, was allegedly upset for being forced to divert his flight, and he drew a phallic symbol in the air, allegedly, and then
Standard
went on to
holding
his new
pattern.
destination.
Standard
New
hold.
destination.
On a cap. That's it.
And then they
That's
said that this is not the first time. The Air Force did it, and then as we know, the Navy did it, and obviously that's a thing. So, Gonky, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, they sent him like 50 miles off the coast. He must have made him mad. That's like the penalty box out there.
It says it's because the runway flipped. So the winds were going one way, and then they said no. So they.
Well, that's
they
why he had
flipped
to
the
turn
runway.
around a couple times in holding, to-
Exactly. You got to
Oh,
load
man.
box.
Yeah.
I mean,
See, AI would not have made this mistake. It would have been like, wait a minute.
well, it would have been a better looking drawing, is what it would have
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it would have been. It would have been very, very anatomically correct. That's, I mean, from a Navy guy, come on, you could do better than that. You could do better.
That is pretty
Yeah.
bad.
I mean,
All right. Yeah. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to cover this so we could say, but this
covered
is
it.
so interesting with the DCS stuff that I think we. Doug, do we have any? We do. I got this one as well. Jim Norton's alcoholism says,
Thanks,
"What's
Jim.
up, Wags? Been following you since Jane's F-15."
Way back. So actually I came on the tail end of F-15 and started there right when they started pouring the initial concrete for the Hornet, Super Hornet.
it's a good
But
place.
yeah.
to be.
It's a long time ago, 1998. Wow. Yeah.
Jeez. That's back in the heyday. That was
Yeah.
when I was virtual Colonel Typhoon of the virtual military in Jane's.
Wow.
Have you been promoted virtually since then, or no?
I've been
Wags-
demoted. real life.
When you did like Jane's F-15 and F-18, I had a couple of those when I was younger, but it's been a while. Was that with the one with you get like the big box and it had like 15 CDs in it? And
Oh
you, like,
yeah.
you
Yeah, I
like
think everything was maybe
half,
yeah. Big
yeah,
old
spend half the day
manual.
loading them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the old
Gosh.
printed manual days.
Yeah.
I love how
Includes
Gonki's
a
pretending
map.
like that's any
Yeah.
different than his current computer. Like back in the day when you had to load like I promise you right now, Gonki's computer is the only one out of the four of us that has a CD-ROM.
No, dude. Nope. Hold on, let me check. Nope.
Yeah. But it's
Anyway,
kind of
moving
funny
on.
because, you know, in many ways we have so much more in terms of flight sim fidelity, but at the same time, we've actually lost quite a bit as well from the kind of the tactile elements of flight sims, what you used to have back in the 1990s, which is kind of
The
sad.
intros. You'll never have
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
intro
absolutely.
as Jane's.
Yeah, absolutely.
That thing was a tank coming out of a book, and then the
Yep.
Apache coming
Yeah.
out, and then
Yeah.
the cool little movie that they did at the beginning, where it
Mhm.
was either the C-17 being escorted through the canyon, or the
Yep.
Apache longbow helping out the little Kiowa.
Yep.
Man,
Wags, by chance, you didn't do anything with the T-37 back in the early 2000s, did you?
No, negative.
Yeah, because Wombat, I don't know
Did
if he
you,
remembers.
Gonki?
I don't know if you remember you bought that for your computer and you
Yeah.
had me come over. You're like, hey man, you know how to fly. Here's the T-37. Show me how to fly this thing. I'm
that's
like,
got to be flight sim.
Yeah.
Is that in
Yeah.
flight
And
sim?
your-
It's like
Yeah, it's probably flight
FSX
sim
or
at that
whatever.
point.
And your retort was, I just tape up the memory items in boldface in the bathroom.
I do.
I have
That's
no
what I
times
got.
to study it. I was like,
I was like,
that's the
that's all
best
I
you can
got,
give me.
man.
You have thousands of
Yeah.
hours that I'm going to fail out of flight school. That's the best advice you can give me. I was like,
Couldn't help you.
All right, moving on. Thanks, Art. This is from your channel, I think. Archeronian. Thank you for just being nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
This was an actual question. Why is ground AI and soldier movements so bad in DCS?
It's just an
They're
older
bad.
animation.
It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an older animation from older technology. So, and that's one of the things that's being updated right now. Actually, I've seen the new animations for the new soldiers, and I think he's going to be a lot more happy with the new
Oh,
level.
Wags, in the
Yeah.
future, do you think there could be like DCS ground fighting going on
Oh,
as well?
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. So the
Wow.
interesting thing is,
That'd be
if you
fun.
look at 4th-gen aircraft, we're hitting a point pretty soon. There's not a whole lot left out there.
Yep.
So one of the things we're looking at now is, where do we go? Obviously, one of the big areas, yeah, you too. We're looking at is some of the, the Cold War aircraft, maybe some of the Century series, World War II, obviously. Clearly, we're going to be doing some stuff in the Pacific for World War II. But a really big area is also going to be ground, like a DCS level ground. Whether or not it'll actually be part of DCS, I don't know yet. But that is certainly a big area that it's not a question of if, but when we'll start really to flesh that out. Because if we can have really no kidding combined arms,
yeah.
detailed simulations anywhere from, Abrams to Apache to an A-10 all out there in the same battlefield, that'd be pretty cool.
If you make it, they'll do it. Because I mean, I know a bunch of guys in Pensacola here. I mean, they
Right.
give me their
Oh, yeah,
mission
yeah.
card. They're like, "Hey, join us." I'm like, "Dude, this gives me PTSD." I'm like,
Mm,
I'm like, "This is too real. I'm out of here."
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's possible to have an air and a ground war all in one giant server, like
Oh,
Yep.
dude,
that,
that'd
people are
be
gonna do
great.
it. That,
Yeah,
that would
I
be
mean,
pretty
you're
cool.
gonna need command and control. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Gonna need some.
Well,
You
that's
are
gonna
gonna
sit
need-
in the
But the E2 needs to
chaos.
be in the picture.
Just saying.
Yeah.
saying.
So AvGeek Joe says, can we please have a Ukraine map?
Unfortunately, probably not. It's just too sensitive right now.
Yeah, you got to be careful too with
Yeah.
like hot geopolitical stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
that
Ukraine, Taiwan, those are kind of no-go areas for us right now, I'm afraid.
It's just country
Yeah.
blue and country red, right?
Yeah.
seems-
Yeah.
When will we get a dynamic campaign like Falcon 4? I don't know Falcon, but
Rubber.
it seems
Thanks,
pretty
Rubber.
dynamic as it is. Yes, thank you.
Well, we have missions, campaigns and such, but the campaigns are scripted. They're basically missions tied together in a kind of story format. But we have been actively for the past few years now working on the No Kidding dynamic campaign.
Oh wow.
It
Is that
coming.
like the old Janes where you have like a newsreel and all
No.
that stuff?
No,
or-
even Jane's, we never really had any dynamic campaign, so to speak. So
Okay.
like if you think of it this way, that you almost have two different layers. You have a strategic layer where, side A and side B, they have a pool of assets, they have industry, they have production, and they have objectives. And they say, okay, I have objective A, here are my resources to take it. Here's what I'm going to throw against it. Here's what I'm going to need. And I'm going to generate an ATO based on that. Then as a player, I look at my ATO, say, oh, okay, I want to fly this interdiction in a Strike Eagle to hit this logistics line behind enemy lines. And you fly it, and then that all has then a repercussion on an ongoing dynamic campaign.
Wow.
Yeah. that
You're
is
literally
amazing.
building like a parallel universe.
You are. You're basically building an RTS on top
multiverse.
of a vehicle simulation.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not too far away from virtual OPRs, folks. Everybody's going to have to fill out what they did, do the Christmas party. It's
Hang
all
out in the
it's
skiff.
coming. Yeah, it's on its way.
As long as I get a
Uh,
virtual
Ar-
coffee cup.
There you go.
Archeronian's back and says, easily my favorite episode
Thank you,
so
sir.
far. Thank you. Just hosted a DCS tournament this weekend. That's a good point,
Awesome.
Wags.
Thank you.
What have you thought about the tournaments and stuff? I mean, because I know we've done
Mhm.
some fights on Folds of Honor. You guys have supported
Yep.
that, and I appreciate it. But what have you thought about kind of how the community has created this kind of competitive atmosphere?
Well, I've said, I know Nick has said it a million times, but we wouldn't be where we are without this community, because I play all sorts of games in different game communities, but never seen one as passionate as this one. And, whether it's, all the different guys running their own servers, because we actually don't run any of our own public servers. This is all the community running the servers, and they put a tremendous amount of time buying the hardware, running this, buying the server space, creating the missions, maintaining them. It's a massive amount of work, and they don't get compensated by us. That's them.
I will
Yeah.
shout out Fox 3 for that, because they provided
you
our
go.
server for what we did. And
Yep.
Right,
it's
yeah.
awesome,
Thank you.
because I don't know, I was working at some point on my computer, then it stopped
Mhm.
working, and then Fox 3 was like, hey, we can help you, and it's all turnkey. So thanks
Mhm.
to those guys for doing that. I mean, this is almost becoming a Q&A, because everybody, so
SA.
Wags is a popular man.
No.
Thank you for your work, Wags. What is next in the pipeline coming soon? Can you even tell us? Or
I can. Actually, it was dominating most of my workday today, and that's the Chinook.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, so is that another, like the Huey, like a Bell Textron? Like who's
I think it's
developing that?
Well, we're developing it, but I think originally it's a Boeing helicopter, and we're going to be doing the Foxtrot, which is the glass cockpit version.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
So this has been a really interesting one, because, one of the biggest challenges of doing, whether it's a 4-gen aircraft or the H-64, which we're doing right now, is reference documentation. And, anything we put in the game, if, the black sedan pulls up in front of my house tomorrow, I need to be able to say to them, how do you know this, that you could put it in your game?
Yeah.
So I have to be able to go to some public source, even to some dark corner of the internet. I need to be able to put my finger on it. So until we have enough information to build the aircraft, we can't do it. Because now, granted, maybe for an older aircraft, the Century series or something like that, but for 4-gen, God, much less a 5th gen, we have to be incredibly diligent about having our ducks in line about what goes in the sim.
I was surprised with the Apache because of how much you got. I mean, it's such
Yeah.
a complicated helicopter
Yeah.
and not as widely exported as, say, a Viper or a Hornet.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, that had to be a big challenge.
Well, good or bad is what it is. But the Dash 10, kind of like the Army's version of a kind of a combination of a Dash 1 and a Dash 34, went public back in, I think, around 2010 or so, of a circa 2005 H-64D Block 2. And it's just everywhere on the internet right now. So
You have to be
Go ahead.
You have to be super careful with your subject matter experts
Yeah.
You know, with them like, hey, this is not, because you and I have even talked about the F-16.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Every time I say, hey, it doesn't do that, you're like, show me the reference where I don't go to
Yep.
jail.
Yeah, and this is not a knock on any of my cockpit monkey friends out there, but sometimes memories fade, confusion between two
What?
aircraft might happen. So
Never.
whenever we can, we really try to look at the actual no kidding reference data,
Yeah.
and then use input from SMEs as a kind of a big picture to make sure everything kind of jives together. And once we have that kind of consolidation of documentation, SME feedback, then we feel really good about something to go ahead and make it happen.
I feel personally attacked.
Wags,
Yeah.
how do you,
Like you
how
read
do
my
you-
books.
No. Trust me, I'm talking about
Yeah.
many other instances, Mover, not you.
Wags, how do you guys figure
He
out?
says
like-
on your channel, just so we're
Yeah,
clear.
right. On Gonki's channel, it's totally different. Go ahead, Gonki.
Wags, how do you guys figure out like what you want to model next? I mean,
Mm.
what
So-
drives it? And then if you could like, how do you guys get funding? I'm just curious. Like, how do you guys raise money to?
No, it's all capital that we,
Okay.
make through our sales of the modules. So in terms of what we do, it's a combination of factors. The first, which kind of just touched on, was do we have the reference documentation to do it? Even like we're working on the Hellcat right now. Obviously, that's not a sensitive aircraft, but still, we have to find the information. We have to find like the wind tunnel data for the flight model. Ideally, we could find some some veterans that flown the Hellcat that we could talk to about its handling. Maybe there's some private operators that we can talk with about it. So again, it's finding that information. If we can't find the information, it's essentially no go.
Okay. So you have a list of aircraft, and you're just, if you can, I mean, have you had airplanes where you're like, we just can't do this one because there's not stuff out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And then the next part is, this is a business, of course, is do people want to fly it? There's, a ton of aircraft you can do.
No E2. There goes
There
E2.
there goes Wombat. Wombat would be your only customer.
So, there's a huge amount of investment in these, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there has to be a return on investment
Yep.
that we're not in the red or much less breaking even. We got people to pay, salaries to take care of. So is it going to sell? That's a big one. Then I guess the last big one is, are other teams potentially working on already? This mostly goes into the third parties, but there may be a third party working on F whatever. Another third party may come and say, hey, I want to do this aircraft, but last thing we want to do is, waste people's time working on something that someone else is already doing. So kind of those are the big three that will determine what we can
Razor
do.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
says, Wags, it's time to get the Tomcat D and the Intruder.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to talk to our friends at Heapler about that, but they're just an awesome developer. And, I know they're obviously working on the Intruder. They got the AI model coming first, which looks outstanding. I think probably, and again, I'm sure the guys, my friends at Heapler, will correct me if I'm wrong. The biggest issue with the D on the Tomcat is the data, again, they have to find that information out there. Obviously, we're not flying Ds anymore, but still, a lot of those documents, particularly say the TAC manual, which I believe is like the weapon systems for a Navy aircraft, would have to be available, and I just don't know if it is.
If it
Wags, do you
helps, sorry, go ahead.
But
No, go ahead.
If
you
it
go ahead.
helps get the E2 on there, you can skip
Oh,
the
boy.
wind tunnel data because there's no reason to even look at it. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's all drag.
So I
It's
mean,
just all
that's got to
drag.
help with the capital.
No,
right?
it
I mean,
makes
the red
lift.
tape.
No. We did the thing. It makes lift, right?
The
It
dome
makes
does
lift.
not make lift. It's neutral.
Oh, I thought we said it did make lift. It's neutral.
Maybe you
Okay.
did. It's exactly
I don't
neutral.
know. I don't
'cause it
pay
can fly
attention when you're
without it.
talking about things that go. Wah. I mean, it's just I zone out. I'm sorry.
so, does the dome generate a yaw momentum?
No,
It does not.
0, 0, 0, everything is what I remember on it.
Really?
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
the yaw is primarily from the non-counter rotating props. Is the
Ah.
biggest issue, and the P factor from that.
That makes sense. Okay.
So
I
yeah.
reference your previous statement, Wags, about people who are SMEs that maybe have confused other aircraft, and it's been a long time.
I didn't confuse anything. That plane tried to kill me for exactly 1,000 hours. Those memories don't go
Yeah.
away. Trust me. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Don't blame me, dude.
So,
Yeah.
Wags, one of the things I'm curious about, because I got this comment like today, and I
Okay.
always see this on these DCS videos of people or emails where they're trying to come to me, right? And they're like, "Hey,
Okay.
do
Yeah.
you remember the Hornet or the Viper doing this?"
Right. Yeah.
And they're usually in the weirdest flight regime that we never would have ever. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, did you put the gear down and the flaps to half and then paddle switch? And how many G's will it give you?" And it's like,
Right.
dude, why would I know that? Like, when
Yeah.
in the world would I be out there doing that? But do you find that's an issue where people sometimes get upset because they believe that it should do something in a regime that we would never get into?
Yeah, that's just kind of the nature of the beast with flight sims. Customers are out there going to put the aircraft in situations that a real pilot would never do, and it happens sometimes where the physics may break down or the system's just not coded to account for this radar mode at this setting and whatever. It happens. Just the amount of possible permutations of all the different systems. Every now and then, yeah, you're gonna come into situations that we don't account for. Then we ask for a track file, we ask for a good description, and we can reproduce it, and then we'll put it into what we call our JIRA system, and we'll put a priority. And based on how important it is to our customers as a whole, we'll assign a priority, and then we'll fix it.
Now, just
Oh,
for
wow.
clarification, these track files, are you reviewing their mission no matter what? Like, are you looking at, like, everything that's submitted, do you guys look at, or is it based off of what they submit that you, like, is it like your call is
No.
important to us, everything gets looked at, or is it more of a, hey, we look at it to see how realistic it is based on what they just told you?
So what usually happens when someone submits a bug, let's say they put a bug in about the Seeker at the A120. What we'll do is we'll right at the start we'll ask for a track file, because what will often happen is the customer will kind of in text talk about the bug, but we can't reproduce it. The best way to reproduce it is actually a track file that we can run in our system and see actually what happens. And then we can actually, then if we can reproduce it on our end, then we can give it to one of our engineers and they can actually run it through the debug code and see exactly what happens line by line and locate the problem that way. So I know a lot of customers complain about having to make track files, but it really is worth its weight in gold in terms of being able to find and fix problems. The key is making them as short and to the point as possible.
Yeah, because obviously a 3-hour mission.
Yeah, well, not
Never
only
gonna find it.
that, but really long missions, you could have potential errors start to crop up in the track file and it doesn't play back correctly. So, the shorter, the better.
Wags, have
Yeah,
you
awesome.
had to have you had to take things out, or have you actually been asked by like, hey, show us where you found this? I'm just curious.
That might be
You-
classified.
Well, no, I mean,
not
like, have
rea-
you, the game's pretty real. And have you
Yeah.
had any, mysterious phone calls from people who drive black Suburbans?
Right.
I'm just curious.
No, knock on wood, not yet. But also what we usually do is before we put a product out there, we'll have multiple SMEs look at it. And if something doesn't pass the smell test for them that should be in the public eye, we remove it.
Okay.
Well,
And,
And-
even with, recently with H64, there were a number of items that technically we probably could have put in there. I think we really would have been pushing it,
Right.
but we elected not to just because it would have been I think,
Close.
a little too far.
Yeah.
And, particularly in today's environment, it's just
Yeah.
not worth it. It's just not worth it.
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Well, and that was
wild.
Mike Gonki. I mean, you and I have talked about this, and Wags, I've talked to you about this. I've even put this in the DCS videos that
Mhm.
I have been, because DCS is so close that there's a high risk for somebody who knows what they're doing to
Yeah.
try to do something that you would do in real life and
Yep.
then inadvertently give away something, either by saying it won't do what, it's supposed to do here, or they see the movement and they're like, well, wait a minute, why'd you try to do that here? So Like it's close enough that there's a risk just inherently by doing it, and that's why I stay away from BVR.
Yeah.
Nothing, because all of that stuff will put you in jail.
Well,
Despite what you see on TV, like normal people get in trouble when classified stuff gets gooned away.
Yeah.
I mean, me and all three, well, Mover Wombat and I, we've had extensive, training in classified stuff. So,
Well, the other thing we've got to be really careful about too is, and you see this in some other forums where someone is a particular fan of a particular vehicle, and to win an argument, they'll put a restricted document online. And that's something we're incredibly strict about on our social media, of no such documents ever allowed. It's just
ITAR, right?
Well, anything from, like a category B to a C to a for official use only, we just don't want to touch it on our social media. It's just not worth it again.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, that's how people validate stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
if you go scour the internet, like the Hellenic Air Force has all the -1s for all
Exactly.
the F-16s out there.
Yep.
And then there's 3-3s and all that stuff. And you're just like,
Yep.
what can I? That's why Donkey and I only do BFM.
yeah,
I hear you.
guns only, baby.
Guns only. The way it was
That's the only
intended.
reason.
Wombat, you're welcome to join us.
Dude,
I would love
anytime.
to. I would love to.
You're welcome to join us. From
Wombat, you
Riku
can probably
Sam,
beat me.
What degree did you get in college before
Thanks,
joining the Air Force? Or if you had to go back and do it over again, what would you change it to? Does not matter. Get whatever you're going to get a good GPA in and you enjoy, and you can fall back on if you don't become what you think you're going to become. That's the only thing I
Bingo.
say.
Bingo.
Questions? Anything to add? Wags, what does it take to be a programmer degree-wise? Like to go work for you guys, if they wanted to help out, is there anything, or is it just
Programmer.
show us your...
I couldn't
or just to
program
work-
my way out of a brown wet bag.
How do we get your job? What degree do I need
Oh
to
God.
go be Wags?
So I was a geography major with a minor in history.
Wow, I wouldn't.
I love the real world.
I would
Just a
never-
can-do attitude.
I know.
Got it.
But
Just
the
like
key,
being a fighter pilot.
but the
Yeah.
key for
The real
me
world.
was 10 years at CIA as a military analyst after college.
So
That's
you
right.
really could kill us all. Yeah,
He knows the right people to call.
Yeah.
Basically.
yeah. He can.
Phone
I'm
see
call
never
away.
saying anything bad about DCS ever again, Wags. Ever. I don't care. It's great.
Yeah. We
Period.
will make sure that you're. Another question from the kids at home. This one's on the
Janitor,
same
thanks,
note.
man.
Janitor is back. Thank you for the question. Mover, if I recall ago, you were going to put out some videos doing flyovers, but had to take it down because of some issue with the Air Force Command or
Ooh,
something.
I don't recall.
What was
that
the
at all.
outcome?
What was
The outcome was
Yellow.
Gonki's. Go watch the videos on Gonki's channel. That's what I'll say.
They're great videos on Gonki's channel. They
Yeah.
really are. It
Gonki has
amazes
all
me.
the videos on his channel. Mover is yeah. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I can't be more help. Maybe eventually. BC says, no
I
question.
know a
for me
guy
this
that
week,
works in
boys.
a department that might be able to help you now.
Yeah, just my way of showing my appreciation of answering my question last week about the banter. Keep up the brilliant work, brilliant stuff, and go get some beers. Wags, what's your beer of choice? Do you have a beer of choice?
Actually, I had a good sour beer called Prairie yesterday.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Oh, okay.
I like the sour beers right now.
Okay, that's what's trending. Plexi for Wags. Hey Wags, any updates coming from the this goes back to what we were just talking about. Hornet Viper radar recently seems to
Thanks,
lose lock
Plexi.
too much when you're in close with the Bandit in the HUD.
That seems extremely accurate. Actually,
Yeah, that's-
keep it that way.
What's the problem?
How did you know that that's how it actually works? That's awesome.
Yeah, so we are aware of that bug, and it's being presently worked on. So, yep.
Wags, I mean, that question brings up, like, in real life, a lot of times this stuff
Yeah.
doesn't always work. And
Yeah.
it's usually when you really need it, but
hmm
I mean,
Well, that's the problem because, even some of the aircraft, we have failure systems available. But the problem is if you were to put like a random failure in there, I guarantee 99% of customers are going to start screaming bug
Yeah.
the second they encounter it.
They want
Well,
new
don't fly the real
assembly
airplane.
line.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
They want
I was screaming
want the-
bug too.
the only thing I want, Wags, is 8.1 in the HUD for the Hornet. I'm like a cripple with that. I cannot land the jet Did
Okay.
you guys have? When did that come out, Gonky? You remember? It's post
been a while.
when
yeah.
what we're simulating in DCS, so I understand
Okay.
why it's not
I
there.
think when the Super
But-
Hornet, like they merged
Yeah.
the software to make
it-
them common. I think that's.
Did
when
you
it-
have that in your lot 10s?
Yeah,
10?
we had it.
Yeah, yeah.
we had it in
lot
the
7.
A plus.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we had it too. I don't know.
No. Oh,
Or
but the
maybe
Hornet.
you could just trim it on speed like a pilot, but that's neither.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
Well, Gonky will be
8.1.
happy to hear we are redoing a lot of the Hornet flight dynamics in FCS right now.
Nice.
So there's going to be a lot more control authority in the stabs now. So you really be able to, bunt it over. Just
Wags,
gonna,
please,
yeah.
please don't make any adjustments based on what you've seen of my flying.
No, actually,
He's
uh,
desperately trying to give you a fighting chance. That's what
Yeah,
he's trying to do.
Everything you see me do at DCS, just trash it, man. So what you've
No,
done is
so
fine.
for those at
Me.
home, here's the plan.
okay.
Gonky and I are going to do DCS throughout the eras. So we're going to do
Oh.
World War II,
Interesting.
Vietnam.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Korea, Vietnam, 4th Gen, Cold War, and then back to where we're at now. We might see if we can download a Su-57 versus F-22
Mm,
for the end thing. Right, Gonky? That's the plan.
Yep.
Uh,
It'll be a good time.
Can you please add a brief room? See, these people really want realism. They want a ready room.
Yeah.
He
it's
wants a
coming.
ready room and
Yep.
somebody to yell at him.
So it's going to hopefully by the end of the year. It's taking a little longer than we hope to, but there is actually a full briefing room coming, as well as a complete pride fly deck.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
Wags, you're gonna reach a point where it's gonna be so real. People are gonna be like, "I'm quitting. I'm out."
Yeah. Oh, actually,
I'm like, this
I
is
see-
terrible.
I see that periodically. Yeah, it's just too much. It's too much work.
Yeah.
It happens
this is
already.
Garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to go talk to my division and do all this
Right.
stuff and check
Yeah.
these emails
Yeah.
now before I
Or the
go
maintenance
fly.
oh
The skipper's
boy.
pissed at me.
Avgeek is
Super
back.
fun.
Thank you, Avgeek. Thanks,
Thank
Wags,
you,
for the
Avgeek.
answer and love DCS, but want
man.
to please full fidelity Super Hornet so you two can stall it like Lieutenant Amanda Stalin Lee.
I
I
don't
would
know
think
that
that's
reference.
probably along the lines of what you were talking about earlier, right? Just
Okay.
getting the documentation.
That's a tougher one. The NATOPS for the Super Hornet is out there, but the TAC manual is definitely not.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
make a radar that sees everything at all times plus UFOs.
Yeah. Or
Make
or
sure
a,
there's a
Please
tic
don't-
tac,
please
man. Put a
don't
tic
do-
tac in
oh.
the radar page.
Email TR Matson at trmatson.com if for all your UAP needs. Sorry, Wags. If you're not familiar, we did a UAP episode and
I've watched it.
Wombat is hiding something
Oh, clearly.
from his
He-
time.
He saw the tapes. It was clear.
It's on the tapes.
It was
He
clear.
was on it. He turns out I'm the UAP. So
Yeah,
mover
you're the
ruins
tic tac.
aliens. Yeah. Diane says just got done with
Thanks,
my
Diane.
biennial in a
Uh-huh.
tiny R22. Flown that. Oof.
Nice.
I'm going to get into DCS, check out the big guns.
Nice.
Looking forward to the Chinook. That is awesome. That
Yep.
is,
Cool.
and Wags, I'll tell you, man, it helped me when I was getting spun up. You know, the Pro Flight Trainer, those guys sent me
Yeah,
a collective and
right.
stick. And I'll tell you, the Huey of everything is such a great flight model.
Oh,
you know,
cool.
it handles like a helicopter. I wish there were more. I'd like to see the MH-139. You know, the Augusta or the Leonardo, I guess there are now. But man, it'd be a little fast. It's the fastest Air Force helicopter now.
You know, Wags, compared to like the actual sims that we used, the fidelity in DCS is, I mean, it's so good that like there are things that you could do with it to actually help teach.
Yeah.
They
So
do.
you know Corky?
Corky
Yeah.
Brown?
So he's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
So he had me up to Lemoore several years ago and actually put me in the legacy Hornet sims there.
Did you know he gave me my first flight in the F-18?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
He did, yeah.
That's good
Back in
stuff.
2004.
So I was there with him and
We do.
Penguin in the
I-
sims. Yeah.
I know, Penguin.
Yeah. And
Former
I-
Tomcat Penguin.
no, Hornet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Hornet. And I couldn't see crap in that sim. The graphics were so bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
honestly,
they're not
even the
known for
flight
their
model
graphics.
to me, it
Oh, it's
just
terrible.
That's
Yeah, it was
correct.
awful.
That's correct. In fact,
Yeah.
I've
DCS is
said that
better.
about DCS. I have said that. I keep people say, "Well, we want as real as possible." I'm like, if you got
Right.
what we had, it would
Yeah.
not like. There's a reason. There's the term simisms.
Mm,
You know, oh, it's a simism. You know, because the sim is a part task trainer.
Yep.
It is not made for you to like totally recreate a mission because we like flying.
And I do
Try
appreciate
flying
you.
a Hawkeye simulator. I'm just going to put that out there.
Wombat, my God, man. Let it
No,
go.
I mean the real one, like that the Navy has. That's what I'm talking about. Like it makes the Hornet look amazing. It's unbelievably bad.
Hey, Wags, the
Ah.
sim that you flew, was it the Dome?
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that thing was
it was
pretty
pretty.
bad.
It was pretty janky.
Yeah.
You know, when I first saw it, you know, you walk up like into the middle of the dome. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And then they turned it on, and I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least it's
Wags, have you-
terrible all the way around you.
It is, yeah. The graphics suck 360. So.
Yeah,
you
literally,
ever-
they had a carrier sitting in the middle of San Diego, and for the
Yeah.
life of me, I couldn't even see it there.
Yeah, that's actually
Wow.
pretty realistic. So
Yeah, not bad, yeah.
it's fairly
At
good
IFF,
simulation.
the instructor had the wooden stick behind us because it wasn't wrap around. So he'd hold the stick. And you'd
Really?
maneuver and relate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
See, I mean,
Wags,
these
have
are
you?
the things that I mean,
Yeah.
like having been IP, I'm like, man, this would have been useful.
Mm.
Sure.
Have you used like a full fidelity, like an FAA sim, like a 737 or a bigger, the ones that move? Like, have you ever gone into those, like a motion sim or anything like that?
No. Actually,
you
I
want
almost had
to?
the opportunity to get into an Apache 64, but
those move?
unfortunately, they do. This was like on
Okay.
hydraulic jacks, but to get me into the sim would have been them carrying me up like 2 flights of stairs, and there would have been too much of a risk of me getting dropped in.
Oh,
So,
that sucks.
unfortunately, that
Yeah,
went
because
away.
it seems like those you get a little bit more fidelity. I mean, Wombat, you can talk to that. I mean, there's you find with the motion you get a little bit more out of it.
Yes, I would say like our level, high level sims are unbelievable. Like you can get to a point where I've found more in an Airbus when I go fly the plane. There's times where I'm like, man, this feels like the sim when you're in the plane than the other way around. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. So
Yeah. Back to the chat. Tim Robinson says,
Tim.
keep up the good work. Thank you. Young men, as I make my weekly donation to retirement fund. One thing missing is a retired chief. We need to figure that out.
That's
Uh,
yeah. Put some color in the
thanks-
channel.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for
Thanks, Jay.
joining the channel, Wags. Really enjoying the conversation. Yes, Wags,
Yeah,
we
glad
really
to be here.
appreciate it. This
Thanks,
may not
man.
be something you can answer. Did Top Gun 2 help with sales?
It did. We actually had a special event as well, but yeah, it definitely had a nice spike for us.
You have a Maverick pack, right? Like a
did.
Maverick
Exactly.
Top Gun.
Yeah, the
Tomcat, all
Hornet, the
that stuff.
Tomcat, Super Carrier. I think were included all in the pack.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely had a nice spike there.
Gonky, this one's for you. Can I join you guys for some guns only?
Sure, more the merrier.
Oh God! Don't say that, Gonky.
The more the
We'll have
merrier.
like 200 people. It'll
Can
be
we
terrible.
set the gun to like unlimited ammo? I'm just gonna start spraying and praying.
You could.
That's what we
You
used to
could.
say.
Wags, can we get destructible trees? Is it a ban of us sim air to mud? Bane of us sim air to mud.
Yeah. I hope someday. It's not in the immediate plans. It would be a pretty significant change to how we do the maps right now. But again, I think it's one of kind of goes back to what I was saying before. It's a question of when, not if. But it won't be
Yeah.
anytime soon, I'm afraid, though.
hey, Wags, I have to say something. So I just got a text from somebody that's very high up in my
Okay.
organization, and he said, anytime you want, he can get you into an Airbus simulator.
Awesome. Do you have any here in Phoenix?
No, but I know a place that flies airplanes that could probably get you anywhere you need to go. So
That'd be
we're
pretty sweet.
pretty global. So
We'll talk
um,
offline.
We'll talk
yeah,
offline.
but
We don't want to.
He said
dox
absolutely.
old Wombat.
And his
Yeah,
son is a huge DCS fan. He
Ah,
was
okay,
very
well-
proud. I got a text the other day that he drives his Hornet around on the deck with the probe out after what I said on the last video.
Nice.
I'm proud of that.
Pass along my thanks. Oh,
Yeah.
so for
Way to go.
for you and Gonky, you might like to hear. So the big thing we're adding, one of the next big things we're adding to the carrier next, is all of the plane directors in the brown shirts from the chain down to the cats.
Yeah.
So you actually get the whole
That's really
startup. You'll get past the
Gonky-
first guy, past the next guy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And the same thing after you get to the landing box, you'll get a guy bringing you out of the box into your parking locations. now.
Wags.
Gonky
if-
made fun of me because I asked if they really walk in formation like that, and
and I
apparently
told
they
him
don't.
yes. And he believed me. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, man, it's for safety.
100%.
It sounded legit.
Wags, if you're gonna do that, you got to make it to where, like, if you don't listen to the yellow shirt exactly,
Oh, yeah. We're
The air
exactly.
boss.
Can you
That's
do the
exactly
full
what
year?
I said last week. So
Yeah.
here's the thing for you guys. If you, or anybody listening for that matter, if you have a good candidate that has the gravitas of the air boss to do
Wombat.
those comms,
Oh, the
we're looking
voice.
for a voice actor.
Wombat. Wombat. Wombat.
Wombat.
Wombat.
I think Wombat, you
Wombat.
might. I mean,
That might work.
Wombat's it. We
could
just
work.
did quid pro quo. You get him in
You-
the Airbus sim,
you
like
know
we're
what
just
Wombat
making
even
deals
work?
here.
That'll
Shaking
work.
and
Wags,
baking.
Wombat means something. So,
Well,
Yeah.
that is true. It is an acronym that
it's
nobody
it's
on
perfect.
the internet has.
Okay. We will talk
perfect.
offline.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make
We
this
will
a,
talk
a
pretty
thing. Can we get a plane captain or crew chief that I could ignore on the ground?
So after we get all the carrier stuff done, that's the next one.
That'd be
Taking
awesome.
That's the
same
important
technology.
stuff, Mover.
Just
That's the
taxi right
important
past
stuff.
him. You know, it's a whole Dos Gringos thing.
Yeah.
Sorry for legal reasons, my fellow maintenance people and crew chiefs. That's a joke. I love you guys, and we don't fly without you. Please don't ground me if I ever fly again. Anyway, speaking of things, Wretched Rob says, I see a pattern here.
Thanks,
Wombat
Wretched.
flies a plane that tries to kill him for 1,000 hours. Then he buys a Mustang. Has his wife tried to kill him too?
First one, not the second.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, boy. Brian, thank you, Brian. Thanks for
Thanks,
doing this,
Brian.
guys. Are you aware of Star Citizen? Has anyone played it? Wags, do you play other games?
I do.
Can you say that?
Absolutely.
What kind of genre do you like?
Oh boy, action adventures. Like last game I just got done with was Jedi Survivor. That was a lot of fun.
Really?
Yep.
Are you a console or PC guy?
Oh, PC 100%.
Mass Effect, you ever played that? Or are you
Yep.
looking forward to Starfield
Yeah, really.
or anything?
Yeah, I like the first two. Actually, the first three. But then when they did the next one, Andromeda, it left me a
Oh,
bit
that
flat.
one was, yeah, we don't even,
Yeah.
that's like Airwolf Season 4. We don't talk about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Then some of the Forza stuff, I enjoy some of the driving games, but not like sim driving. I suck too
Oh,
much
yeah.
at the driving sims.
iRacing? You don't ever do the iRacing stuff?
No, it's a little too. I'm bad at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the big ones.
Janitor.
And actually waiting for oh god, what's it called? Coming from Bethesda, Starfield. That's the big
Yeah,
one I'm waiting
Starfield.
for.
Oh yeah, I'm real big on that one. Janitor's back. So DoD banner does include five. There's a whole story behind videos.
There's not
You're
a
gonna have-
banner
you're
big
gonna have to
enough
wait.
for the flyover.
You're gonna have to
There's
wait
not
a
enough
couple of months.
big enough. At least
You have
2
to wait.
years. You gotta wait.
Two,
I'm
is it
trying.
2 years? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 years. Hey Wags, will we ever be seeing a Korea map? Which I think you spoke
Yep.
to that. That's the same. Oh, you will.
Oh, we will. We have several maps before, which I think are going to be really cool. But Korea, Vietnam, yeah, they'll come. They will come.
Vietnam. Gonky.
Absolutely.
It's my homeland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Gonky, you could be the voice actor for that.
I'm a little too American.
Yeah. Again, Vietnam and Korea are not in work right now, but they will
Right,
come.
Right. We don't want to
Yeah.
start that rumor.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't
we're
want
not
to
gonna
deal with all
don't-
that.
You got to be
Yeah.
careful. There's 600 people watching right now.
There's people,
Oh,
trust me, you say the
oh,
littlest
yeah.
thing on this channel, and my
yeah.
God, you will not
Yeah.
hear the end of
Wombat is
Oh,
one
Marty,
of the
we have
aliens.
repercussions of this tomorrow.
and,
Oh, yeah.
Bushwick says,
Bushwick,
"Can you
thanks, man.
please make the F4F-3 so my dad can stop asking about my progress on it in Aircraft Factory 99 that he bought me like 20-something years ago? I don't know what any of these words mean except for the F4F-3.
I
What's
assume
the
it's
Aircraft
the
Factory?
Hellcat.
Yeah, what's an
It's
Aircraft
Factory
Factory?
99 though.
I don't understand.
Aircraft.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, we'll move on. Tony, thank you. Just appreciate
Tony.
the support. By the way, we're
Razor.
simulcasting 2 channels, so in case anybody's Razor Navy Rigger call sign Beast. Hey Wombat, can the E2 hatch be opened at altitude? I'd love to do a Hawkeye Halo.
It can be, and I know that for a fact because I almost lost one by trying to put it back in airborne. Yeah, we were flying.
Take
from
notes,
Ventress- Ventress back, and the instructor at the RAG asked me if the hatch was stowed, and I was like, "Pff, yeah, of course," because I was in the back because we would go front to back, and it wasn't. And then about 5 minutes later, I'm like, I guess I should stow it so he doesn't find out. And I pulled it out in the suction, and I almost lost the whole thing out the ditching hatch over Virginia Beach, which would have been.
Dude, is it not pressurized?
We were low. I mean, and it's Grumman. I mean, just because an airplane's pressurized doesn't mean it holds pressure. Those are two
I
very
gotcha.
different things. Like, come on. Stop
Wags,
acting like
there's
an
a
Air Force
C-130,
guy.
right?
What's that?
In DCS, there's a C-130. That's the
Yep.
only flyable cargo plane right now.
Yes,
or
there's a free mod out now, but a full-on DCS version is coming down the pipe.
Can you throw
Right there.
people out the back?
I can ask.
I'm curious. I mean, will
Definitely
you be able
cargo.
to like?
Definitely cargo.
Okay.
That's one of the big things we actually had to program in for the third
So, like,
party was
Wizzos.
that ability. But in terms of actually, probably.
Because how cool would
Um,
that be, right? You get thrown
yeah,
out the
out
back
the
and then you
back.
fight on the
That's-
ground.
We're working
Yeah.
another project where actually we
Yeah.
are doing paratroopers. So
Yeah.
it should have the same
That'd be awesome.
technology. I'll need to get back to you on that one.
That's
That's
awesome,
cool.
man.
That is
that'd
cool.
be really cool. This is for you, Gonky. Me
Plexi.
and Archeronian from Plexi will get your DCS chops up to speed so you can finally beat Mover.
Oh,
Let's go.
Yeah, it's
It's
gonna.
going to take more than
I'll try.
$4.99 for that.
I'll
Plexi. We're clear. Look at
I
that
will
guy.
try your patience as a student. Just ask Corky.
Yeah. We WWE Raw 1123 Wags and Crew. Are you guys looking forward to the logistics side of DCS? It's upcoming with the Hurricane Chinook.
Absolutely.
What does that mean, Wags? What's the logistics side of DCS? Like moving pallets of stuff to
Yeah.
put them in place, or
Yep. So we have a system right now called warehouses, which is kind of like the
Mhm.
first big step. But what we want to do is we want to expand that to a whole more logistics frame, not just for carriers like Hercs and Hercules, but also it's going to be important for a dynamic campaign where you can actually have players taking a part in dynamic campaign to do resupplies as well.
wow.
So Wags, you're literally trying to make
war.
DCS like
Yeah.
the world.
Digital
Absolutely.
combat sim. It says it right in the name, Gonky.
Yeah.
Digital combat simulator. He's going to simulate all the combat.
That's what we want to do.
Does that mean the real
Wow.
combat will stop? Because that'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
Dude.
Just
We
settle
just
all your
fight
disputes
online.
in DCS. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, and I would to the point about get your DCS chops up to speed. People are always in the comments like, "Mover, I can kick your butt. Growling Sidewinder would kick your butt. This will kick your butt." And I'm like, yes, this is a very
Okay.
factual statement because it is just different than what we have trained to. Like people that are good at DCS are very good at this, and I
Yeah.
do not discount anything because we learn by feel. I learned how to drive a car by feel. I learned how to, fly jets by feel. I can turn around and know where the jet is.
That'd be only-
It's tougher in this DCS.
Yeah.
Well, in anything, in the real airplane, there's always someone who can kick my butt.
Right.
Well, it's funny you
That too.
mentioned feel too. So, little aside story: a buddy of mine, over 4,000 hours in Vipers. I had him to the house a couple years ago, and I was in one station. He was on the other. We're both in VR, and he has a Viper throttle and a force-sensitive stick.
Oh yeah,
F-16
Wind
stick.
Wing. I got that. I
No,
got a Wind
actually,
Wing stick. They
it was
sent me one.
the
It was awesome.
real simulator stick.
Okay.
And with so many hours in the Viper, we hit the merge. We both go two circle. He goes full grunt and literally rips the stick out of the base
Yes.
Nice.
because that's the
Yeah.
feel he was ready to.
Yeah.
For him, 20 pounds of pressure, that's his 9G. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't say that, to disparage people who are doing DCS. I mean, first of all, I've been trained in tactics, so, I do have some training to do this. But the second thing is, if all you're used to is what your eyes, your sight, it's different than those of us that were trained to like, okay, we got sight picture, but what's the feel of the jet? What's the sound? How's it the buffet on the airframe? There's a lot of other stuff that we relied on for all this time that we're just used to. And it's as somebody who's good at DCS, I will 100% say they will beat me in DCS. And to me, it doesn't, there's no competition.
We have muscle memory that works against us.
Mhm.
Ask me how I
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
That's the only memory you have there, me too.
That's true. Valid.
This is wow. Wombat, this one's for you, man. Jazz Buff 23.
Whoa,
thank you.
Jazz,
In
thanks,
late
man.
1957, I was an intercept controller and we had a UFO event. Scrambled an F-86 Delta, made two passes. UFO went from 0 to 1,500 that metric? Kilometers per
Those
hour.
are not
Yeah.
freedoms per hour, that's for sure.
Not freedom units.
Yeah.
More than once. After the event, we were ordered to remove all logbook entries. FIS ordered to destroy all records, logs, and film.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
No,
that's
just
So, I was listening to your guys' conversation about that.
and we've now gone to UAPs. God,
Yeah.
he's
So-
never not going to stop getting emails.
No.
all it takes is money.
And I think
That's
Go ahead.
all.
Mover said it over and over again. There's so many Trons out there. And if there's anyone out there doing a velocity gate steal or anything like that, of course you're going to have ratings like that. It's, and like you said, Mover, unless there's a correlation between you're seeing the sensors and what your eyes are telling you, I don't know. I'm not sure how much
Oh,
I
boy.
believe that.
Wags is going to get all the comments.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
The thing is, all I'm saying, and I'm not discounting, Commander Fravor or anybody. All I want to say is that extraordinary claims require at least the basic levels of fact. Like I have to
Absolutely.
walk into this as a neutral third party and go, I don't know,
Mhm.
but please present the evidence. And
Yep.
Even
you can't
even
say
Fravor says he doesn't
eyewitness.
know.
Yeah.
Right. That's why it's UAP. So unidentified. So you take each event and you take all the data. Well, unfortunately, all the events that they've provided to date have all been separate. So they're like,
Yep.
well, he saw this, and then they got the FLIR. And I'm like, well, the FLIR doesn't show anything. Well, then there's a third event. I'm like, but they're not the same event.
Yep.
Show me the correlated data and let's have an intelligent conversation instead of just, well, they're here and they've been here this whole time. And it's the greatest conspiracy in the history of the most incompetent bureaucracy in the history of bureaucracies. Oh, sorry. Yep. My bad. I meant for legal reasons, this is a joke and I'm not, look, my camera's even
Please don't
wrong.
email me anymore. Please.
Wombat's hiding
please.
something clearly.
Wombat knows personally. Actually, you know what? This flying saucer was actually the dome that just flew off. It went
Poor
self-aware.
maintenance is what it was.
Uh,
They didn't bolt it down. And
Modman wants to remind people that Gonki deserves super chats, which they are. All of these are from both channels, by the way, because we're simulcasting. Great show. I appreciate it, but thank you.
We appreciate it, Modman. Thank you.
33 Vortex says, hi, Wags. What then is the progress on the Kola Peninsula map?
Uh-huh.
What about the Eurofighter? I'm not familiar with either with the
Right.
Kola thing. I know about the
So-
Eurofighter.
So the Kola is extreme northwest Russia, like Murmansk area.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
a company called Orbix has a really esteemed
Yeah.
history, and so you know them.
Yeah.
It took
Microsoft,
me years,
Flight Sim.
but I finally got them on board to start making maps for DCS, and that's the first map they're doing for us.
So does that-
Go ahead.
I was going to say, does that mean that eventually we're going to have like the whole world? Like I can go to
No.
New Orleans and fly as a.
Well, okay, so that's a
DCS
different
World.
project. So we're doing Eagle Dynamics. We're doing another map of the entire world.
Oh,
That's gonna be
cool.
that's
Because
rad.
Orbex does that. I mean, that's why when you said that, they take
Well,
regions and make it high fidelity.
yeah, they do high fidelity
based on-
of certain regions, exactly. But we're going to be doing a separate map, not a regional map of the entire world. And that's what we've been working on that technology now for a couple of years.
jeez. There's so many
Wonder,
people
would you
way
link that
smarter
with
than
like
us.
Google Earth kind of thing to get like super high? I guess you could really.
So
get
I'm not exactly sure which assets the team are using, but yeah, we'll be using different
That's amazing.
meshes and textures and GIS data to build those maps. But the trick is, unlike some other companies that do world maps, we have to do maps that are essentially destructive at the same time. Because
yeah,
whether it's a
because of the
bridge or a
bombs.
building or what have you.
Oh yeah.
So everything
Destructive
has
is when you hit your target, Gonky. That's the.
You
can
can
see
be
why there was
destructive off
confusion.
range. You can be
That's true.
perfectly destructive off range, Wombat. It doesn't
Oh,
have to
yeah.
hit the target. It has to
Right,
hit
man.
something.
Come on.
Right.
Anything
Right.
can be a target, technically.
That's true.
Will that integrate weather and traffic as well? I mean, because now you're starting to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, you're just the simulator. There's no
right.
digital combat. You're just the simulator. Is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure
kinda-
about traffic or weather. We haven't really got to that point yet. Right now, we're just kind of doing the physical world. But at the same time, we'll still continue doing the regional maps because, we do maps for like World War II. We want to do some, Vietnam era maps as well. And obviously, you can't do those maps based on different map data that's currently available. So
Awesome.
both will be in parallel. But anyways, Orbix is making good progress. They actually released a bunch of screenshots just a few days ago.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's looking really, really nice. And so actually my first sim was Jane's F-18, and that's where the Theater of Combat took place, was that same area. So for me, it's actually kind of going back to where I started map wise.
Wow.
And
That's
the
kinda fun.
Eurofighter is was that
Yeah, so-
Razbam? Who's doing?
No, so Heapler is doing that in cooperation with a different company. But right now they've really got their hands full with the F4 Phantom.
I just want to know when the Kiowa's coming out. I mean, that thing's been on pause for like 4 years now. I've been waiting for the thing. I'm super excited about that one.
Yeah. So last I talked with the folks over there, they had some health issues with one of the key programmers.
Yeah,
And that kind of put them back a bit. And we did an evaluation and gave some feedback, and they're going to be working on that. So it's coming. It's just taking a bit.
Man, there's so many people with questions. Wags, you're a popular guy. Lego Man 1992. Thank you. Says, Wags, thanks for doing this. Really took interest in flight sim programming, missile physics simulation. Do you have any good book recommendations? So far, I've only been looking at publicly available DoD.
Oh boy, there was a physics book on, not physics, but performance and operation of missiles, and I can't remember the top of my head.
The missile knows where it is because it knows where it isn't at all times.
Yeah, send me, if you ever send that, send me a message on the chat and our forum, and by then I'll remember the name of that book and I'll send it to you.
That's awesome. See, Wags is a man of the people. Solidus62, thank you. I'm so happy y'all started this podcast. Been watching every episode. And look, Gonky so far. I jinxed it. Been watching every episode. Have y'all ever done anything in Arma 3? I've not. Maybe planned operation where y'all give cast a boots on the ground. But you know what, though? When Wags finally gets dudes on the ground, we'll do that. In fact, I sent Gonky a picture today for my new military job. I've got like camo, so I'm ready. That'll start some rumors. Will the new F-18 pilot model be as sexy as Gonky? That was
never. Not
possible. He flies better.
Not possible.
Not possible.
Not possible.
So he flies
he
better.
just flies around with his mask hanging. Like he never
looking in the mirror.
That does bring a question though, because Gonky and I have seen this. Why can we not eject and then rock'em sock'em robots? Because I want the two dudes to fight when they're on the ground.
That's coming.
I'll put that in here.
Please put that as a request. Specifically,
They'll come right after the Hawkeye.
Well, that would be like
right
5 people fighting. That's 5 dudes that are fighting. Or
dead on Wombat.
Marcus says, did any of you used to play the 1993 PC game Dogfight?
I did.
What other airplane PC games did you fly?
That was a fun one.
Ago?
I still remember. That was actually one of the first multiplayer flight sims I ever played.
Yeah,
if I remember right, you could do the Harrier, you could do the Mirage 3.
Oh, wow.
What were the other ones? There's like four aircraft, and you could dogfight them with like a serial port between computers.
Wow.
My favorite was Chuck Yeager's Air Combat.
I think that was it. Oh God, that was so good.
That was my favorite. I played that thing for hours.
That was so good.
Gonky, what now?
I'd have friends over to my house just to play that with them.
Chuck Yeager's Air Combat. It was awesome. Like he'd appear in the upper right and like, man, it's at your 6 o'clock. Do something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
anywhere from
Max, I don't want to interrupt.
F4s.
Gonky's talking about playing it a week ago.
No, dude, this is like 1990. What do you think, Wags? 92?
Yeah, around 92 or so. Yeah.
I had a Gateway 486, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We'll do probably.
The only thing I remember about the Sims back in the day, other than Microsoft Flight Sim, which I played a lot, but most of the combat games were story based. Because was it Nova that had the F-22 Lightning 2 game?
Oh yeah, Nova Logic.
And all the Janes and stuff. Those were all like you played a campaign. There was this huge backstory behind everything you were doing.
Right.
And that was kind of what, because multiplayer wasn't a thing, right? I mean, other than dial up to somebody else. Did you have any involvement in any of the Jane stuff with the story when you were doing the Hornet, or was it, because I think by then they'd kind of gotten away from the story a little bit, didn't they?
Not as much of a story. We had a lot of cutscenes and things like that, if I remember right. Of course, intro videos and that sort of thing. And then the lead designer and I, Chris Martin, we were the two designers on the project. But mostly what we did was, designing the systems of the aircraft, the missions, the campaigns, that sort of thing. But really didn't have story. So there was like another Origin game. It was an S16 game, Strike Commander.
Oh,
Remember?
Oh.
So it was very much a light sim, but heavy story, very heavy story.
yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
The 90s were all about the story.
Yeah. A lot of
Kids
more.
these days will never know.
Yeah.
Womboss, that's for
Try to
you.
say.
Keep up the
We're
great
making
work,
this
guys.
happen. This is my claim to
Wags.
fame. I can't wait.
Have you ever heard of a rumbling of an S3 flyable being produced for DCS?
Mm.
You guys are
So
feeling it. Take it
it-
easy.
It would be ahead of the Hawkeye, but still pretty low down the list.
I love
I
it.
endorse
Hey.
that. I'm not even mad.
Oh man.
Only truth on this
Wow.
podcast. I love
This is and Brian says, is there any way to simulate the buffeting of the jet with? I think it already does that,
It
doesn't
does.
it? I thought
Yeah.
mine, the
Yeah.
seat rumbler.
Yeah. Unless it got broken or something. Yeah, it should be in there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. And then
Not bad.
janitor's back. Thank you. Says freedoms per hour. I tune in for the content. Stay for the wombat.
There you go.
And then A-Rock says we need to get Wombat into DCS at some point.
Absolutely.
That is the only fair trade. If he gets you into
Yeah.
a sim, you got to put him
100%.
in.
Absolutely.
And he needs to at least be the LSO.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, we got so actually the LSO is Jello.
That, yeah.
Oh.
Mm.
And
Really?
Casmo is the Apache, right?
He is the CPG in
Yeah,
our
I
64.
think with my esteemed career, Air Boss makes
You'll
sense.
be Air Boss.
right?
We'll make that happen.
Makes
That's
sense.
the only
can make
way
that
it
happen.
makes sense.
I don't know if there
Yeah.
is a way that I could feel better giving back to the Navy than being
Oh.
the DCS Air Boss. There's two people on this chat that understand what I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
Wombat, you'd be
That-
perfect. Perfect.
yeah.
You need to have Gonky as the F-15 Wizzo voice
Oh,
when you guys
dude.
finally do that. Oh boy, eject me, because you're the Wizzo now. Goose, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
That happens.
And thanks, Dad Spartan Spartan Gamer. And I finally caught up. We're actually back on track. Wags, I'm sorry for keeping you this long, but if you got
No,
time,
it's been
man,
fun.
you're like a great
man.
guest, a wealth of information. So let's see. We've already talked about all this stuff. I got a voice message.
Ooh.
I got a voice message. Let me play
Does
the
this
voice
person
message.
survive or no?
It's from
'Cause the
Vlad.
last one. Oh, okay.
This is from Vlad. The other guy got cut
Yeah.
off midstream. I hope he's
Let's
okay.
Just take a moment of silence for your last voice message.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Here's the question.
Hey there, Movie and Gonky. Got a show for you to review. You might not like the show itself. It's Skycrawlers, 2008 animated Japanese film directed by Mamoru Oshii. Great music. Story's kind of sappy and silly. Suggest you check the Wikipedia entry on it first. And I think you'll love the dogfight scenes. In fact, I know you'll love the dogfight scenes. Okay,
Okay.
Skycrawlers, 2008. Go see it. If you like what you see, let's give a review. Please. And
Actually, oh, he had more. I hit the thing. I will say I don't have to like what I see to do it because I'm about to do this Call to Duty, and I looked at the picture, and I've already got about a million things to talk about. So
Oh, is that the one using DCS?
Are you really doing
Yes.
that?
yeah, oh
Yes.
yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna be as good as the Top Gunner.
Wait, is that
Okay,
the one you
then.
sent me to look at?
For the
Yeah.
record,
Mhm.
Oh.
we did not give them permission. That
Oh,
has
great. So-
nothing to do with us.
Wags, do I have your permission to ruin that movie?
Absolutely.
Dude, that bums me out because you're gonna get canceled. Your channel's gonna get shut off. That's my
It's not gonna get
prime
canceled.
source of getting book sales.
By the
It's
way,
all's gonna fall away.
go. Where's the
Such
banner?
a
Where's the
bummer.
banner?
Such a
trmatson.com. Buy a book.
Wags, I
are you
need
guys
this
gonna
Airbus thing to work because I need a
Yeah.
fallback. It's a fact.
Wags, you guys need to at least incorporate Wombat into your entire series, and tell it probably his books too. I mean, you really can't afford not to at this point.
I think it's out of the question at this point.
Yeah.
I'll
right,
get you in a
let's-
sim. Does that count for anything? That's all I got.
Moving on to the mental health minute, which is always a serious topic, but Wags, we're happy to have you because we've talked about this. The mental health minute today is probably one of the biggest things, and it all ties into the stuff we've talked about as resiliency. You know, a lot of people in the military talk about it. They're like, well, you got to be a resilient force, but then we don't really talk about how or why or what it means. And I like to think about it. Doug, you can chime in as our resident expert if you're still with us. I haven't heard you in a while. I hope you're okay. It's like a rubber band, right? So, you know, if you stretch the rubber band too much, it pops. If you stretch it a lot over time, it's going to fatigue and fail. And it's just like resiliency. You can bounce back a little bit at a time, but if you try to bounce back too much from too big of a thing without talking to people, unloading some of that baggage, it will, over time, drag you down. And as far as my career, I think everybody in this chat has a story of resiliency. Mine most recently, you know, we talked about the air show thing. I'm not flying fighters anymore. That was very tough. Having lost dogs, family members and stuff. A lot of these things over time will wear you down, and they have worn me down. But what I did when this stuff comes up is I rely on friends. You know, you talk to people, you talk to a lot of squadrons now have mental health counselors that you can go talk to just in your daily life. If you've got a core group of friends that can be that support network, and even going outside of that, but you can't keep that all inside because eventually the rubber band pops. And, you know, we always talk about, well, we got to be resilient, but the key in all of this is allowing yourself to decompress and allow yourself to take that load off before it becomes too much, and just taking it one piece at a time. You know, if you get into a situation, even flying, where you're overwhelmed, well, I busted this ride, I failed a check ride, whatever. The resiliency is figuring out how we correct it the next time, and talking to our squadron mates and going, look, you know, I didn't fail because I was a bad pilot. I failed because I had a bad flight, and I'm going to overcome that, you know, in the next time. So around the room, Wags, you're our mostest guest. I know we talked about that. What do you have for resiliency?
So, like I mentioned, I think earlier, back in high school, I had a pole vaulting injury that left me a paraplegic, meaning I could not walk. And, you know, I think it's safe to say probably the toughest thing I've gone through. And for me, as you were touching on, Mover, a big part that got me through it was family and friends. And the support, but I think equally, particularly for family, of not wanting to let people down, of, you know, being that example and, you know, being the best person I could. I think another part, at least for me, was focusing on all the things I still did have, which was quite a bit. You know, particularly if you look at comparatives of how difficult things can be for a lot of people in this world that didn't have the privileges that I did growing up. It's kind of hard to really focus on the negative when you have so much positive out there. So I think for me, those allowed me to, you know, never fall into a depression or feel sorry for myself, but instead take it as, okay, it happened. How do I make the best of this moving forward? And like I said, you know, one thing I wanted to do growing up was fly jets. That wasn't going to happen. So did the next best thing, applied to work at the CIA, worked on jets, went to Top Gun, lots of time at Nellis working with fighter crews at Red Flag, and got to do some really cool things that maybe I never would have got to do if I did end up flying. So life has a way of working out sometimes too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And look at all the good you've done. I mean, how many people have you inspired to become fighter pilots just from DCS? I mean, that's amazing. Gonky, what do you got, man?
Yeah, just to add to that, it's really about, like Wags, you're saying, it's really perspective, right? So, I mean, it's not always what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And I mean, I never had anything as traumatic as that happen to me, but I mean, it sounds like that's exactly what you've done. And throughout life, that's how I look at life. Perspective, because there's always blessings in your life. There's little blessings you don't even notice,
Yeah.
every single day. I mean, living in Florida and being able to keep the temperature at like comfortable levels, right? I mean, we take that for granted. So
Yeah. Come to Phoenix.
right. Right. But yeah, just perspective, and then obviously family and friends. And I know, like being on deployment and stuff, and Wombat could probably talk about this a little bit better, but sometimes you don't have your family with you. And that's when we had like psychologists, and we had therapists and stuff on the boat that we could talk to as well. And rough and tough fighter pilots don't talk about touchy feely things like that, right? But you have to be mature enough to just know, like, I gotta go talk to somebody before this gets out of hand. So that's what I have to add. I mean,
Chaplain, too.
perspective.
Don't
Yeah,
forget-
chaplain. Yeah,
Don't forget the chaplain. In fact, I
Yeah.
want to shout out my new job, Captain Latham, the chaplain. He's if I walked in, he's like, "Oh my God, your mover!" And I was like, "Oh no, not here, not here. No, I'm not." He's like, "Oh, can I get a picture?" I was like, "Okay, but
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I promise you, I'm not that guy. I'm just happy to be here." So I thought it was really cool, and appreciate you watching the channel. And he's leaving us, so good luck in your next assignment. So
Yeah.
really, really cool. Wombat.
I could really echo a little bit of all of it. I mean, Wags, your story to me is inspirational. I I volunteer a little bit, and I want to do it more with a group of veterans, Wake for Warriors, that takes wounded vets and teaches them how to wakeboard and wake surf. And it's a really cool thing to see, because you have these individuals to their family before they went on deployment. They were larger than life, right? They were the moms and dads, and whatever injuries they got over there. And it's everything from, visible to not visible to loss of limbs to everything. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched their children sitting on a boat when mom or dad, who doesn't walk, is out there surfing behind the boat. And, they look like superheroes, and it's such a cool thing. So nothing I've gone through can hold a candle to that. The two things that I think about are, and Mover and Gonky know about this, and I don't talk about it a ton, but in my first squadron, and I can really tell you how much the friends and the people around you make a big difference. So in the first squadron, I was married, found out on deployment that I was getting a divorce, which is probably not the most ideal place to find out you're getting a divorce. And my squadron, I mean, they were better than, I want to say better than family. I love my family and my parents are great, but I mean, they came together, and it was the only reason I got through it. And I actually chose, after I realized there was nothing I could do to fix the marriage, I chose to stay on deployment because they were closer to me than anything I was going to go home to. And it made it bearable. And I mean, I flew with a crew 24 hours in the Hawkeye. I know it's a Hawkeye, but bear with me. 24 hours after finding out I was getting a divorce into combat. And I looked at that crew, and the one thing that I will say about the Hawkeye is there's a lot of personal pride as far as bringing your crew back. We can't mid-air refuel at the time. We can't eject. I mean, you don't have a lot of options. And I looked at every one of those crew members and I go, guys, if you don't think I'm ready for this, I'm out. I won't do this flight. And every one of them said, no way, we'll fly with you anywhere. And it really spoke, because I was dealing with kind of like what you referred to, like Wags, with the letting people down. I'm getting a divorce. I mean, my parents are still together. They'll laugh at this, maybe not always the best, but they're still together, and so I was a failure in my mind, growing up as a Catholic guy. I'm like, man, I let everybody down, and that camaraderie. And then when you fast forward to my Hornet time, and I dealt with my medical issue, which ultimately almost killed me, it was like I had a plague. like the squadron, I mean, there's maybe 2 or 3 people in that squadron that I even still talk to because they all turned their back on me. And something that shouldn't have nearly been, I mean, it was medical. Pilots have medical issues all the time. And something that really shouldn't have been anything to turn your back on. And I felt so freaking alone on that ship. I mean, the days from my last landing in the Hornet to when I finally left the ship, which was only a few days later, was some of the hardest times I've ever been deployed because I felt so damn alone. And, that's where when I think of resiliency and when I think of, it goes all the way back to, stories like yours and stories like I see with Wake for Warriors and the things that I post on social media and stuff like that. It's all fun and games and making fun of each other and having a good time and the camaraderie and writing books and being the next Air boss for you. And I mean, all that's fun, but like, when I write this stuff, I think back on those days and I'm like, if I can do anything, I never want somebody to feel as alone as I did, so that's the reason now with, albeit like it's a small social media presence, I'll admit that, but it's a social media presence. And like my wife will tell me now and she's awesome. And she'll be like, are you still answering messages? And I'm like, I'm going to answer them until they're all answered. I'm going to do that extra effort because I know the only way to get through it, the only way to bounce back, the only way, the whole never down, never out thing of just keep moving forward and you can get through anything, things that you never, ever, ever believe you can get through is by having the people around you to have your back. And if I can be that for somebody, then that's awesome, and that's an honor. And I don't take that lightly, but I think that truly is, I agree with Mover and what you're saying as far as like, you can bend, but don't break. And you have to at some point let the steam valve off and you can't go forever because eventually you'll just self-destruct. But there's a lot. I mean, we as a society and as a human being, we are far more resilient than I think anybody really gives themselves credit for, because it's too easy to not be. It's too easy to be like, I can't do it, or this is too tough. And it's like, most people have no idea how too tough is. I mean, and I don't think I even really know. And it's amazing that power that we have as human beings to not only within ourselves, but to affect other people and to bring them stronger. And I've seen it firsthand. And to me, that's the ultimate, when it comes to resiliency is taking care of yourself, but taking care of those around you, taking care of people. Taking care of others is what we're all about as humans. I know we fight. I know we talk about UAPs and joke or tell Mover that Air Force people don't really deploy, which is mostly true. But the reality of it is it's helping everybody. That's what makes the world go round. And if we don't have that, we don't have anything. I mean, we just don't. And that to me is what sticks to me with resiliency.
It's funny you mentioned the Hornet stuff because it reminded me of something that I probably wanted to forget. But when my dad died in 2013, did you say let it go?
No, I said way to go, Wombat.
Yeah, well, I have a knack.
I mean, no, seriously, you feel alone. Gonky, you weren't in the squadron at the time. The one person when my dad died called me from VFA 204. It was Bucky. He's the only person that called and said, "Are you okay?" Everybody else in the squadron could not care less. Like, in fact, the only other call I got was, "When are you going to be the next dead OIC?" Like, that was the support that I got. So, and that was the hardest time of my life. I mean, or one of. I mean, things obviously, sometimes are worse, but that was a tough time for me because, it's my losing the second parent. I have a special needs brother. World had just collapsed around me. Sure. But it's interesting that you have those one or two people that are just there. And when I went through the stuff, that arguably still ongoing, but in the last year, two people, Gonky and Wombat, and Deuce, who's not on the channel, there was a very small group of people that were there because when you feel so alone, especially when it's something, and I know Wombat, this, but when they're coming after you and you feel like you're being attacked and there's nobody around to circle the wagons with you, that is a horrible, horrible feeling. So That's not really. I mean, I guess it is resiliency because I'm still sitting here, and we're all still sitting here, and Wags, I'll
100%.
never, I mean, dude, that's, we can never understand, what you've gone through, but I mean, the fact that you're here today to be able to tell your story and also be proud of what you've accomplished to that end of sharing your dream of being a fighter pilot with the rest of the world. How many is it? It's got to be millions of users of DCS, huh? I mean, you guys have I mean, so
It's done well.
you've shared it with so many people that otherwise would never know. Because Gonky, I mean, we talk about it. I mean, it's the closest you can get,
Yeah.
sitting in your
It's
living
time
room.
machine. Yeah, it's
Well,
awesome.
and I'll say it flat out, Wags. I mean, I know we just met, but you've done more, in my opinion, for fighter pilots and military combat aviation than any fighter pilot or person that was involved in military combat. I mean, there's what you've done. I mean, the sheer numbers of it statistically, like, I don't care who you are. I mean, and I've met guys that, we did the interview with Nasty Manazar. I mean, that guy had a stellar career and seemed like he did everything. I mean, but the amount of people he affected was nowhere near what you have. And so it's weird how life works that way. It's obviously, given the choice, it's probably not the direction you would have chosen before it happened, but it's obviously the path you were supposed to be on. And the fact that
it all worked out
is pretty damn cool. I mean, that's
Well, I think you make a really good point too, Wombat, that people are a lot more resilient than they give themselves credit for. And I think the vast majority of folks out there were confronted with something like paraplegia. They're a lot stronger than they give themselves credit for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's, you don't know what you can handle until you're forced to handle it.
Pretty much.
That's the
Yeah.
reality of it.
But like I said earlier, to be perfectly honest, a lot of it is, my own selfishness of wanting to create experience that, allows me to do the thing I wanted to do before.
Yeah,
And
I don't
if
know
along
if
the way it
selfish
helps
is the
out.
right word, though. I mean, it's you're a good person. I mean, I could see that immediately, right? I mean, and it's what you wanted to do, but I mean, it's also a giving back. I mean, I could selfishly say I want to be the Airbus in DCS, and that's why I started writing books. But oh no, wait, no, that might be the reason. So I mean, it's just who you are. It's your human nature. So
Let's
No,
real
that's very
quick,
kind.
seriously though, whatever you're going through, this is for everybody. Especially somebody might be watching this and thinking, hey, I'm going through a lot right now. I will always say this, and I'm going to keep harping on it. Don't make a temporary problem permanent. Talk to somebody. The suicide hotline. There are local resources available. Here we've got resources here in St. Tammany Parish. The sheriff's office has resources. Call somebody, even if it's 911, but call somebody. I mean, I've been on hundreds of, suicide attempt calls, and I'd rather be there on the attempt than on the actual death scene, because I've been on those too, and they suck. So the resiliency, even if you're at your limit, there's light on the other side. So please, don't make a temporary problem permanent, and it'll be permanent not just for you, but for everybody around you, because somebody does care and somebody will be hurt.
yeah.
So, all right, let's get back. There's so many people asking Wags questions. Wags, if you got the time, I would definitely love to continue.
You bet.
And this
Shoot.
one, actually, I have this question because I
Okay.
think there is one. Archeronian says, any chance of getting an early Gripen, a variant by chance, or early Rafale? I did the interview with Saab. They are a great group of people. I don't know if you've had any contacts with them, but I mean, they're super, super chill, and they have great airplanes. Have you thought about reaching out to them, or is that anywhere in the wheelhouse for getting a Gripen?
So I would love to do a Gripen and a Rafale for that matter. As kind of often the case, particularly for a 4+ gen like this, the data is going to be the problem, the reference documents. Now,
I wonder if Saab would do it, like directly.
Maybe. I'd be more than happy to talk to them.
I'll make an intro.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
All right, I'll make an intro.
That'd be great.
Cool. Adam says F-22 Interceptor from the early 90s on Sega Genesis was my intro to Flight Bug. Mine was Tomcat. There was a Tomcats game on Sega
I remember
Genesis.
that. Yeah.
That had real people, like live action, like video on it. I don't know how they did that, but thanks, Adam. Dat Spartan Gamer says, Wombat, I toured VAW 120 on my, was that Midshipman Cruise?
Yep.
Is that what that
Cruise, yeah.
Yeah. That was sick, despite my probable nuke drafting. Y'all still inspired me to be an officer. Thanks,
Nice.
y'all.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. Liquid says, will we ever get a full fidelity Su-27? It's known in the community you guys want to do a MiG-29, but how about the flanker with the wanker?
I know it's starting to turn a broken record, but it's
Yeah.
lack of reference data. There is actually a fair amount of information on the Fulcrum, particularly the German one. There's actually a book you can buy on Amazon, which is their flight manual, but the flanker is a completely different matter, and we just don't have the data.
There are civilian MiG-29s. I mean, Jared
There are,
Isaacman's got,
Yep.
you know, I mean, there would be
Yep.
cool. There are civilian flankers too. I saw one on controller.com of several
There
years ago.
are, but does it have the radar still?
No,
Probably
it
not.
was
Yeah.
just, it was
Or
a lead
obviously not the weapon systems either, but
yeah.
again, it has to be the combination of the Dash 1 and the TAC or 34 and trying to get all that data. Now, you know, obviously we have it in, you know, kind of more of our survey game called Flaming Cliffs 3, which I know it's the worst name for a flight sim ever.
Flaming
but the-
commies.
It's an Air
Change it to
Force
flame.
Air Force game.
Okay. This is my short period. It did not work for Eagle Dynamics. So I have no part
Yeah.
in choosing that
Yeah.
name.
Lost in
But
translation.
barring that, now it is possible maybe a third party out there can get access. You know, maybe another third party could find access to a Chinese J11. Oh, I don't know.
Would that
But-
get you in trouble if a third party did it? I mean, does that not fall under the same thing, or does third party absolve you of the responsibility?
No, same thing. Like, you know, even like the recent Strike Eagle, there was a fair amount of back and forth with the developer to make sure that there was no information in there that we cannot account for publicly.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
so again, whether it's a Su-27 or a J11, finding the public data somewhere, or the manufacturer or the arm of the military provides the data with permission, which very unlikely would be
Right.
possible too. But yeah, again, a flanker or a J11, I'm not going to say never, but it'd be tough.
And once again, to emphasize, not just publicly available, but legitimately publicly available, right? Not just
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
Black
uploaded
market.
it to their
Exactly.
website. It has to actually legally be available on the open market because people are cool. Zach says, Wags, excited about the addition of paratroopers. If you need voiceovers for the 82nd guys, I can round up some dudes from my old platoon, jump masters, and all.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Okay, I will write that.
That'd be
down.
pretty. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Brassy just donation, thank you. And
Thanks,
then
Brassy.
Viper10, who I recognize from Twitter, he's a streamer, but not DCS. He should get into DCS.
Absolutely should.
Since we're talking about DCS, I think he does Arma 3. Anyway, Mover, 12-year Air Force guy here, taking your advice, making them tell me no this year. Take a shot for me and wish me luck. From one creator to another, appreciate all you guys do. Good luck. I mean, that's the first step is to say yes to yourself. You know, don't self-eliminate. Don't have doubts. Just do it. See what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
There you go. Dave says, any chance
Thanks,
on
Dave.
taking an already developed flight model, making another aircraft expansion, like taking the F-5 and trying to produce a T-38A? Trainers allow less experienced players to learn faster. That would be the wrong trainer.
Correct. I was
Learn
gonna say
faster.
that'll eliminate people virtually. Of course.
You already have an L-39.
We do have the L-39. The problem is, we definitely could do a T-38A. The problem is back to ROI, that we'd be lucky to break even on a game like that, a aircraft like that.
Yeah, it's like a Hawkeye. That's what you guys flew. Just so you know.
Just as an aside, somebody in Microsoft Flight Sim created a R-44, the Robinson helicopter I fly, literally identical to the one I was doing in the video. So
Oh yeah.
there's a demand. There's a demand. The mover and Gonk, complete with the primer colored tail, we could have a T-38, right, Gonky?
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is, we have a pretty, great set of third-party developers. So it's, quite possible one of the third-party developers that isn't as stringent on ROI as us, that may, pick the talent up.
Wags, you could just
Or
leave it
Hawkeye.
black in color, put a star on the tail, and call it a MiG 28.
There you go.
There you go.
They already do that. They have that in the F5. you
definitely,
can
yeah.
fly in that. Yeah, the paint scheme.
They don't call it the MiG 28. Anyways,
Yeah,
I do.
nobody's been this close before.
Yeah. Tim Broderick says, voiceover got my brother as the star role in Top Gun or Danger Zone. I did do a Mover Ruins movies on that, and it was the coolest thing because his brother responded. And he was so cool about it. Like I'm making fun of the movie. I'm like, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. This was ridiculous. But he was such a good sport in his comments. So that was really kind of cool to see. You got to start somewhere. Gonki's movie career has yet to kick off. I think he could do some voiceover stuff.
no chance.
No offense, Wags, but I'm hoping Mass Effect 4 calls me and needs me for a mover character or something.
See, and that's where I disagree. I am all in on Airboss for DCS. Like I have loyalty that Mover clearly does not have.
He's got all the loyalty in the last hour and 52 minutes. Thank you,
I
Roderick.
can't put a
We
timeline on it.
We appreciate it.
DEF CON.
Oh, here we go. Hello, fellas. I'm currently working on my, was it Next Gen NGAD,
defense.
Next Gen Air Defense concept, the F-39 Lalantos. I was curious as to what features you add to a fighter to make it better than a Raptor. You guys are awesome. Well, first
Navy.
off, it works all the time.
Oh,
Buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
A radar that can see everything at all times for everybody.
Navy.
And like maybe 3 times the thrust just for good measure.
Just for the heck
And
of
gas.
it. Single
And
seat.
gas.
All the
only.
gas you could ever ask
Single
for.
seat. Yep.
Only
A
single
helmet.
seat.
Jahimics.
Yes.
You can see through the
Mix
stuff.
for sure.
No vertical stabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need those.
It's got to look cool. Cannot be fat Amy.
No.
Nothing
Gotta look
obese. It
gotta
has to
look
look cool.
We're superficial.
Yeah, it has to look good. You have to be. You'd have to want to take like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders to it
There you go.
to take pictures. Nobody wants to do that with Fat Amy. Let's be honest. Nobody's doing that.
No.
Nobody's doing that. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks, Ann. Appreciate that. Oh, and Techno Faisal from Gonki's channel. Mover, you're a celebrity now. Congrats on 400K.
Nice.
I'm not, man.
You are a
I've
celebrity.
done-
Nice.
You are a celebrity.
I can't
I
tell you how
was
many people I
walking-
fly with. They're like, "Hey, you know that Lemoyne guy?" I'm like,
Lemoyne.
Yeah.
I get that too.
I sure
I
do.
literally the other day I walk into the break room. I told you this, Mover, and somebody was like, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube last night," and I was like, "Oh man!" And
Do you know-
he's like, "You're with that Lemoyne guy," and I was like, "Nobody knows how to spell and say his name."
You're like, who? Is this the right
Mover.
channel?
Yeah,
I
I'm like,
was
"Does that have to
walking
do
my
with-"
dog this morning, and some guy, like, I'm not even in my neighborhood. We're going on a walk at 7 a.m. and some guy's walking by and he goes, "Good morning, Mover," and I'm just like, I said good morning to him because before he even said anything, he's like, "Good morning, Mover," and I'm like, did I just
Stay
hear that?
strapped.
Am I? Yeah, it was nice. I mean, he wasn't
Sure.
about to.
Sure.
I don't think he was
Oh, that's
going
funny.
to do anything to me. Scenario Fulfillment says,
No,
"Thank you."
Next question.
Wags, how did you feel about your voice being used in those AI TikTok videos?
I never-
And do you
I
think
never-
you can maybe utilize AI voicing in DCS soon?
This is
Is
the
this
first
breaking news?
I have not heard about this.
Hold on, I gotta get the
You're
banner.
more famous than you think, Wags.
I want royalty.
Yeah.
breaking news.
Wax gets it. Pay up. That's all. I'll talk to
send you the-
anybody
we'll
about
send you the $5
UAPs as long as you pay
I'm
long
talking to
enough,
my
that's
agent.
Yeah,
do you have an agent?
Not yet.
not yet.
Oh,
He's about to.
touche. Roderick says, "Excellent, gents. I wish you all the very best. Did not know your journeys were so challenging.
all. Oh,
I
you have
think
no
you'll find that
idea.
everyone's journey
yeah.
is challenging
Yeah.
if you just
Everyone has
talk
a
to them.
story.
Yep.
Yeah."
Everybody does.
And then Kate, no question, but thank you,
Thank you.
for your support. Oh God, there's another one. Michael says, "Congrats on 400K. I have a Mover Ruins request for you. The 1985 anime Area 88. I think it's superior to the 2004 remake, but it's still good."
Never heard of
Thank
that
you,
one.
Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did one with Paladabor or whatever with some eagles.
Have you done Star Blazers yet?
No, I'm so
Mover,
backlogged. I've been
look at
trying
all
to
this-
get Wombat to do Sully because Wombat knows about these things, but Wombat won't.
Wombat knows a lot of things right now. You got to get on the list because apparently there's emails
I
like
was on the
crazy about
list. I
stuff.
was scheduled. I was scheduled. I was on your calendar, and you canceled on me.
I did. I did.
Look,
Sorry,
man, between his UFO meetings and his voice coaching for Airboss, and he's busy, dude.
It's busy. Things are really blowing up right now. It's-
You
it's-
need
you
the
got time.
agent.
I do.
Wombat needs an agent.
or at least a lawyer to block some of
Oh.
his emails.
Hold
Or
on,
both.
hold on.
You need both.
I'll have my agent reach out to you.
No. Oh, hold on. I'm going to share the screen. Doug, put it on screen. He sent it in the private chat.
Oh, God.
have to go
On
find
screen,
it.
Mr. Sulu, Mr. Spock.
I'm not sure if I want to see
Give me
this.
just a second.
And we're back
Did I
to
close my
UAPs.
eyes?
No, this isn't
I'm bringing
UAPs.
it.
This is our Mr. Producer has found the video. Thank you, Sammy, the Ditch Doctor. By the way, we appreciate your support.
Wow,
And, second
50
try,
bucks.
Wags. DCS Airwolf.
Ah.
I second. Seconded.
That would be fun.
That'd be a
ready.
good third-party product.
You,
That's
you want
a-
to
I'll
unroll
do
it?
Gonky, do we know how to
Third
code? We need to learn. All right, here we go.
What's
Bags
the
from Eagle Dynamics here. Today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be turning DCS into an anime dating simulator starting in 2024. The Astolfo module is being worked on by HeatBlur and should be in open beta by summer. Hey guys, Wags from Eagle Dynamics.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. So I kind of forgot about recording that.
The internet is forever, Wax.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I didn't think that was going to go public so fast.
That is awesome.
Well, Nick's going to be pissed.
That's hilarious.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah,
That's
hey,
just-
Mover needs
Mover needs,
Mover needs,
Anime
Mover
dating.
runs anime dating.
he needs that version of DCS right now.
Offline.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez. Whew. Well, that's straight off from the Helios conspiracy, huh? Anybody
Mhm.
read the book?
Yeah,
Nobody.
you're right.
Gawky doesn't read, so I know. I'm
No,
not gonna ask
if it's
him.
not on an audiobook, Gonki's
True.
got no chance.
100%.
Yeah.
What are you guys
color?
reading
All
right now?
Each other's books. I'm currently on
Mm.
Gonki's coloring books. Gonki's doing Mover's books on audiobook.
Gonky's
Yeah.
not doing my books.
No,
That's
he's
not.
No, no.
Hey, Wags, if you're voice acting, do you want to be the audiobook narrator for Spectre Rising? I need somebody.
Ooh.
It was a small part, maybe.
No, the whole thing. I need somebody.
Oh,
to do
God,
the whole thing. The last guy,
No,
the
no,
rights
even like-
finally expired. So many people complain. They're like, he sounds
was
like George Carlin
horrible.
doing an impression of
It
Thomas
was
the Tank
horrible.
Engine.
No, I already
It
get
was-
a lot of hate mail on my voice as it is on my YouTube channel. You do not want
Who would
me
hate
to-
that buttery
No.
smooth voice?
I don't
It's
know.
so calming.
But I got a
It is
really
I
mean
wish-
one yesterday.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Tony says, Mover, I've been following the channel for years now. After almost 10 years in the Navy as an OS, I'm getting out a few weeks to pursue the warrant officer flight program in the Army.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Good for
do
you,
it.
man. That's
We'll
really
do the
cool.
make them tell you. We skipped it again this week. We'll do it another time because there's just been so many questions for Wags. I think this is a good time, good stopping point.
Missed-
Wags,
You missed one from a.
where?
There you go.
We did that one. No, we
We
didn't.
did that.
I must
did
have been
that.
queuing
You
up.
were busy looking up that
You
video.
were busy
Gotcha. All right,
doing
so make
the
sure.
Wags.
Don't wanna miss
anime.
Ann.
No. Okay. How do we get rid of that now?
It's there
Okay.
forever.
Wags. We thank you.
Mover,
I mean,
you're very
dude,
welcome.
this has been awesome.
fun.
Like
I had a good
I've
time.
learned so much about DCS.
That was really
If
cool.
you ever want to do DCS with me and Gonky, we'll figure that out and do something.
We can do that. We
Thanks,
can do that.
Wags.
Wow,
I can,
that's
I
Wags'
can-
way of being super polite of flying
Yeah.
DCS with you guys. He's like, sure, I'll slum it.
You guys
with
suck
you guys.
really
and-
bad.
You're not gonna. He's not gonna make you the air boss, Wombat.
I
He's
can,
not.
I can
Okay.
tow the banner for you guys.
Stop trying to make air boss happen. It's never gonna
Air Boss
happen.
is going to
Wombat.
happen.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It's,
It's going to happen.
That's awesome.
Wow. I
Oh,
need to
yeah.
roll
Wombat-
now.
Wags, Wombat has a lot more volume available, just so you know.
That's true.
Oh,
So,
That's
I
true.
mean, you're just getting like level 2 right here.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot. You, oof,
yeah. So,
it's a fact.
so like if someone's not following the pathing of the director, I want someone to yell like, 301,
oh, yeah.
follow your director.
That's
Things like
perfect.
Dude.
that. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
got you.
Man, that's going to give me like
Oh,
PTSD.
It is.
He's gonna give himself PTSD
Not
by yelling
only,
at the.
not only can I do it, but I've been on the
Thanks,
recipient
MF.
end of that as well. So
Thanks,
that
MF.
helps.
Yeah.
You know the tone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Gonky, co-host, floor is yours.
No, Wags, thanks for coming on, man. It's like I
Thank you,
said,
man.
it's incredible. The visual experience, it really takes me back. It's awesome.
That's great. It's, when it comes from you guys who have, been there, done that, it, makes it all more of the worthwhile. Really does.
Wombat.
I'm good. I had a blast. Thanks for having me. I say everything I want to say during. So
Go buy a book.
We'll be
All
in
right,
touch.
listen, buy DCS,
Yep.
buy T.R. Matson's Vengeance Flight, Treason Flight, buy Gonki's coloring books and soon to be children's books. Don't buy my books because I'll get in trouble. But
Buy Movers books. There, I
the
Thank
books,
you.
Movers
Appreciate
books
that.
links are on my site. We'll just go.
There you go.
They'll never
Oh,
be able
one
to
more.
track that.
God, we'll
Nice.
never get out of this. Hey, guys and Wags, do you know how accurate the Saab Viggen is depicted in DCS Viggen, especially on the engine performance currents? Just my grandfather was an engineer in the Swedish Air Force in the CW.
Have fun with it.
As accurate as possible, probably.
I've never actually compared the like the EM diagrams. I've never seen them for that matter. But Heapler does an outstanding job on research, and they do an outstanding product. So I have every confidence in the world that the flight performance is pretty dead on.
Perfect. Awesome. On that note, we appreciate everybody. Thank you, Wags, again.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
You're very
everybody for
welcome.
watching. Thanks for all the questions. Stay tuned. We'll break these videos up and have more content. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you guys.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.